Nihongi, The Chronicles of Japan, Chapter 17. The Emperor Whodo. The Emperor Wohodo was the son of Prince Hiko, Nushi, Bido, a descendant in the 5th generation of the Emperor Hamuda. His mother name was Furuheim. She was a descendant in the 7th generation of the Emperor Ikkyum. The Emperor father, hearing at his country, house at Miwo, in the district of Takashima, in the province of Ohomi, of the extreme and resplendent beauty of Furuheim countenance, sent a messenger to Sakanawi in Mikuni to ask for her in marriage. He took her to him as his consort, and she eventually gave birth to the emperor. The prince, the emperor father, died while the emperor was yet a child. Furuheim thereupon made lament, saying, "I am now far removed from my native place. How could I bring him up? I will return to my parents at Takamuku, and there respectfully bring up the emperor." When the emperor attained to manhood, he loved the people and was courteous to men of worth. He was of a generous disposition. The Emperor Wohetsus died in the 8th year of his reign, in winter, the 12th month, 8th day, at the age of 57. He had never had any children, either sons or daughters, and there was no one to succeed him. On the 21st day, the Ohimuraji, Ohitomo no Kanemura, counseled, saying, "At this moment there is no successor whatever to the throne. Where shall the empire bestow its allegiance? From ancient times, even until now, this has been a cause of disaster. Now there is in the district of Kuhada, in the province of Tamba, Prince Yamato, Hiko, a descendant in the 5th generation of the Emperor Tarashi, Nakatsu, Hiko. Let us make the experiment of preparing an armed force to surround his carriage as a guard, and sending to meet him, establish him as our sovereign." The Oho, Omi, and Ohimuraji all assented, and sent to meet him in the manner proposed. Upon this, Prince Yamato, Hiko, viewing from a distance the troops which were sent to meet him, was alarmed and changed countenance. Accordingly, he took refuge in a mountain valley, and no one could learn whither he had gone. AD 507. First year, spring, 1st month, 4th day. The Ohimuraji, Ohitomo no Kanemura, again counseled, saying, "Prince Wohodo is of an affectionate and dutiful disposition. He is a fit person to take over the celestial succession. Let us therefore courteously offer it to him, and thus continue the prosperity of the imperial institution." Mononobe no Arakahi no Ohimuraji, with Kos no Wabido no Oho, Omi, and others, all said, "On a careful review of the branch descendants, there is no other worthy person but Prince Wohodo." 6th day. Omi and Muraji were sent to Mikuni with emblems of rank, and provided with a palanquin of state to fetch him. The troops to form his guard arrived suddenly in awe-inspiring array, clearing the way before him. Upon this, the Emperor Wohodo remained calm and self-possessed, seated on a chair with his retainers in order by him, just as if he already occupied the imperial throne. The envoys, therefore, bearing the emblems of rank, with respect and reverence bowed their hearts, and committed to him the imperial authority, asking permission to devote to him their loyal service. In the emperor's mind, however, doubt still remained, and for a good while he did not consent. Just then he chanced to learn that Arako, Kahachi no Mumakahi no Abido, had sent a messenger secretly to inform him minutely of the real intentions of the Oho, Omi, and Ohimuraji in sending to escort him. After a delay of 2 days and 3 nights, he at length set out. Then he exclaimed admiringly, "Well done, Mumakahi no Abido. Had it not been for the information given by thy messenger, I ran a great risk of being made a laughing stock to the empire." The proverbial saying, "Be not a respecter of rank, but value the heart," was doubtless meant for men like Arako. When he came to the throne, he treated Arako with special favor. 12th day. The emperor arrived at the palace of Kusuba. 2nd month, 4th day. The Ohimuraji, Ohitomo no Kanemura, went on his knees, and with repeated obeisances presented the mirror, the sword, and the imperial signet. The Emperor Wohodo declined them, saying, "It is no light matter to be a father to the people and to rule the state. I, the unworthy one, am deficient in ability and do not deserve to be thought fit for it. I pray thee, alter thy purpose and select some wise person, for I, the unworthy one, do not dare to accept." Ohitomo no Ohimuraji, bowing down to the ground, persisted in his request. Then the Emperor Wohodo, facing the west, declined 3 times, and facing the south, declined twice. Ohitomo no Ohimuraji and the rest all said, "In the humble judgment of thy servants, the great prince is excellently fitted to be a father to the people and to rule the state. On behalf of the ancestral temples and the temples of the earth and of grain, thy servant's judgment dares not be hasty. Availing ourselves of the general desire, we pray that thou wilt graciously be pleased to grant thy acceptance." The Emperor Wohodo said, "Ye Oho, Omi, and Ohimuraji, and all ye high officials, since you all urge me, the unworthy one, I, the unworthy one, do not presume to oppose you." So he accepted the imperial signet. On this day, he assumed the imperial dignity. Ohitomo, Kanamura no Ohimuraji was appointed Ohimuraji. Kos no Wabaito no Oho. Omi was made Oho. Omi. And Mononobe no Arakahi no Ohimuraji was made Ohimuraji, all being confirmed in their previous offices. Thereupon the Oho, Omi, and Ohimuraji each entered on their respective offices and ranks. 10th day. Ohitomo no Ohimuraji petitioned the emperor, saying, "Thy servant has been informed that it was a principle of government with former sovereigns that without the confirmation of an heir to the throne, it is impossible to give security to heaven and earth. Without the intimacy of the side courts, it is impossible to continue the calyx. For this reason, the Emperor Shiraga, having no heir, sent thy servant grandfather, Ohimuraji Muruya, to all the provinces to establish 3 kinds of Shiraga be, by which his name might remain to after ages. Alas, was not this painful? I pray thee, therefore, to establish the imperial princess Tashiraka and take her to thee as empress. Then send the officials charged with the worship of the gods of heaven and earth to make reverent sacrifice to them, and ask of them an imperial scion who shall fully respond to the hopes of thy people." The emperor said, "Be it so." 3rd month, 1st day. The emperor made a decree, saying, "The gods of heaven and earth must not want a master of their worship. The universe must not fail of a lord. Heaven produces the nation and establishes it by means of a supreme ruler, whom it causes to superintend its supply of food, so that each man life may be preserved. The Ohimuraji, grieving for our childlessness, has displayed his loyalty towards the state, showing generation after generation a devoted fidelity. Is this simply for the sake of our own reign? Let the imperial princess, Tashiraka, be brought to meet me with all due ceremony." 5th day. The imperial princess, Tashiraka, was made empress and took the government of the interior. She eventually gave birth to a son who became Aim Kuni, Oshi, Harani, Hiro, Niha no Makoto. He was the rightful heir, but as he was young in year, he held the empire after his 2 elder brothers had ruled it. 9th day. The emperor made a decree, saying, "We have heard that if men are of fit age and do not cultivate, the empire may suffer famine. If women are of fit age and do not spin, the empire may suffer cold. Therefore is it that the sovereigns cultivate with their own hands, so as to give encouragement to agriculture, while their consorts rear silk, worms themselves, so as to encourage the mulberry season. How then shall there be prosperity if all, from the functionaries down to the 10,000 families, neglect agriculture and spinning? Let the officials publish this to all the empire, so that our sentiments may be made known." 14th day. The emperor took to him 8 concubines. Some of the 8 concubines whom he took to him were earlier, others later. When it is said that they were taken on this day, it is meant that then for the first time they were lodged in the after palace, a lucky day having been selected by divination, in consequence of the accession to the imperial dignity. Thus the facts are glossed over. Other cases are to be understood similarly. The senior concubine name was Menoko, daughter of Kusaka, Wohari no Mureji. She gave birth to 2 children, both of whom possessed the empire. The first was called the Imperial Prince Magari no Ohain, who became Oshi, Kuni, Oshi, Take, Kanahi no Mikoto. The second was called the Imperial Prince Hinokuma Takada, who became Take, Wo, Hiro, Kuni, Oshi, Tate no Mikoto. The next concubine was Wakugoheim, younger sister of Miho no Tsunori no Kimmei. She gave birth to the Imperial Prince Oho, Iritsuko, and the Imperial Princess Izumo. The next was called Hiroheim, the daughter of Prince Ohamada of Sakata. She gave birth to 3 daughters, the eldest of whom was called the Imperial Princess Kanzaki, the middle one the Imperial Princess Mamuda, and the youngest the Imperial Princess Mumakuta. The next was called Womi no Aratsum, daughter of Prince Mate of Akinaga. She was the mother of the Imperial Princess Sasage, who was in attendance on the shrine of the great deity of Ise. The next was Sekiheim, daughter of Wamachi, Mamuda no Mureji. She had 3 daughters, the eldest called the Imperial Princess Mamuda no Oho, Aratsum, the middle one the Imperial Princess Shirazaka no Ikuheheim, and the youngest the Imperial Princess Wano no Aratsum. The next was Yamatoheim, daughter of Katahi, Miwo no Kimmei. She bore 2 sons and 2 daughters. The first was named the Imperial Princess Oho, Iratsum, and the second the Imperial Prince Mariko. He was the ancestor of the Kimmei of Mikuni. The third was called the Imperial Prince Mimi, and the fourth the Imperial Princess Akaheim. The next was Heiheim, daughter of Kahachi, Wani no Omi. She bore 1 son and 2 daughters. The first was called the Imperial Princess Wakyaheim, the second the Imperial Princess Tsubura no Aratsum, and the third the Imperial Prince Atsu. The next was Hiroheim, daughter of Prince Ni. She had 2 sons, the elder of whom was called the Imperial Prince Uzagi. He was the ancestor of the Kimmei of the Sake, Makers. The younger was called the Imperial Prince Naka. He was the ancestor of the Kimmei of Sakata. This year was the year Hinodo I of the cycle. AD 508. Second year, winter, 10th month, 3rd day. The Emperor Wohitsu's Waka, Sasaki was buried in the Misasagi on the hill of Aihitsuki at Kataoka. 12th month. The people of Tamna in the midst of the southern sea, first, had communication with the land of Baekje. AD 509. 3rd year, spring, 2nd month. Envoys were sent to Baekje. The statement in the Baekje original record that Lord Kuramachi came from Japan is unclear. The subjects of Baekje, who during 3 or 4 generations had made their escape and were living as refugees in the villages of the Japanese domain of Imna, having lost their place in the register of population, were all removed to Baekje and replaced on the registers. AD 511. 5th year, winter, 10th month. The capital was transferred to Tsutsuki in Yamashiro. AD 512. 6th year, summer, 4th month, 6th day. Ashiyama, Hatsumi no Omi, was sent on a mission to Baekje with a present of 4 horses of the land of Tsukashi. Winter, 12th month. Baekje sent an envoy with tribute. In a separate memorial, Baekje asked for 4 districts of the land of Imna, viz. Upper Tari, Lower Tari, Seata, and Muro. Ashiyama, Hatsumi no Omi, governor of the land of Tari, made a representation to the emperor, saying, These 4 districts border on Baekje and are far separated from the Japanese residency. Morning and evening, they exchange communications. Their fowls and dogs cannot be kept apart. If they are now ceded to Baekje and united to it so as to form one country, no better measure of conservation can be adopted. It is true, no doubt, that even if ceded and united to Baekje, there will still be a danger for future generations. Much more, how many years could they be defended if they became foreign territory? Kinemura, Ohitomo no Ohimureji, having thoroughly comprehended this report, adopted this policy and laid it before the emperor. Accordingly, Arakahi, Mononobe no Ohimureji, was appointed imperial envoy. Mononobe no Ohimureji was on the point of leaving for the official inn at Naniha in order to make known the emperor commands to the Baekje guests, when his wife expostulated with him, saying, "Originally the deities of Sumiyoshi bestowed on the Emperor Hamuda while in the womb the gold and silver lands beyond the sea, namely Koryar, Baekje, Silla, and Imna. Therefore did the great Empress Akanaga Terashaheim, no Mikoto, and the Oho, Omi Takeshai, no Sukyun first establish government houses in each of these countries, and constitute them our screen territory beyond the sea. So that this has not come to pass without reason. If now we were to divide off and grant it to others, we should be acting contrary to the interests of our own land. How, in that case, during the long ages should reproach be sundered from men's mouths?" The Ohimureji answered and said, "Thy advice is reasonable, but I fear to disobey the celestial command." His wife remonstrated with him earnestly, saying, "Pretend that thou art ill, and do not make communication." The Ohimureji was guided by this remonstrance, and therefore another envoy was appointed to make known the imperial will. Presents were given, and an imperial decree granting 4 districts of Imna in accordance with the petition. The imperial Prince Ohine, owing to certain business, had not heard of the cession of territory. When it was too late, he learnt that the decree had been issued. He was surprised and dissatisfied, and endeavored to have it altered, saying, "Since the days of the emperor in the womb, there has been established the land of our government house. Shall we lightly yield to the request of a frontier land and grant it away without difficulty?" Accordingly, he sent Hiwashi no Kishi to make a fresh intimation to the Baekje guests. The envoys, however, replied, saying, "The emperor, the father, has already, for considerations of expediency, consummated a grant by imperial decree. How can the imperial prince, his son, act contrary to the emperor expressed will, and unauthorizedly make to us a different intimation? Surely he cannot be in earnest. But granting that it were true, which is the more painful, to be beaten with the large end of a staff or with the small one?" At length they took their departure. Upon this it was rumored that Ohitomo no Ohimureji and Ashiyama, Hatsumi no Omi, governor of the land of Tari, had received bribes from Baekje. AD 513. 7th year, summer, 6th month. Baekje sent General Chaya, Mimun, Kwai, and General Chayu, Rai Chun Nai along with Ashiyama, Hatsumi no Omi, to bring as tribute a scholar of the 5 classics named Tan Yang Nai. They separately addressed the emperor, saying, "The land of Pan, Phi has seized thy servant's territory of Imun. I humbly pray that the celestial favor may decide that it be restored to its original jurisdiction. Autumn, 8th month, 26th day. Seonta, the eldest son of the king of Baekje, died. 9th month. The imperial prince Magari, no Ohine in person, betrothed to himself, the imperial princess Kasuga. Thereupon, all through the moonlit night, they held sweet converse, till the dawn came on them unawares. Of a sudden the grace of elegant style was embodied in his speech, and he broke into song, saying, "In the 8 island land vainly a wife I sought, until in Kasuga, hearing that there was a fair maiden, hearing that them was a good maiden, pushing open the spruce, fir plank door hither have I come. Taking it by the foot end, I laid hold of the hem, taking it by the pillow, and I laid hold of the hem. Then my beloved arm was wound around me, and my arm too was wound round my beloved. Like a luxuriant vine, arm embraced and twined with arm. As the armlet fits the elbow, in sweet slumber we lay. Tease the bird of the courtyard, the cock that is crowing. Tease the bird of the moor, the pheasant that is clamoring. Ere I have uttered all my mind, fully the dawn has come. O my beloved one. Then his consort replied in song, saying, Down the river of Hatsus a bamboo comes floating, close jointed, long jointed, the bottom part making into a lute, the upper part making into a flute. Blowing into it, playing on it, were I to ascend and stand on the top of Momoro, and publish it there, the very fishes that pass under the water of the pond of Ihair would come to the surface and lament. The august girdle of small pattern, girded on by our great Lord who rules peacefully, hangs down in a knot. Not a man is there whoever he may be but would come up and lament. Winter, 11th month, 5th day. General Chaya, Mimun, Y of Baekje, Mun Turk, Kai of Silla, Sin I, Hae and Pun, Fa, Y Sa of Ara and Kwai, Churn, Hae and Chayung Mun, Kai of Pan, Phi were sent for to attend court in a body, and received communication of a gracious imperial order, giving I Mun and Ti, Sa to the land of Baekje. In this month the land of Pan, Phi sent Chup, Kai with presents of rare and valuable objects, asking for the land of I Mun. Eventually, it was refused them. 12th month, 8th day. An imperial decree was made, saying, We, having taken over the celestial succession, have been watchful to preserve the ancestral temples, and have been wary and fearful. For a while the empire has been at peace. Within the seas, there has been serenity and calm. Years of abundance have been frequent, redounding to the prosperity of the land. Admirable. Morocco, thou hast made known our sentiments to the 8 quarters. Magnificent. Magari no Ohain, thou hast cast a luster on our authority amongst all countries. Japan is harmonious, and each man may do as he pleases in the empire. Akitsu is glorified, and the royal territory raised to high honor. Thou prizest naught but wisdom. In nothing dost thou take greater pleasure than in doing good. Depending on this, the sagely influences undulate afar. Leaning upon this, the profound virtue is permanently supported. Truly, such is thy virtue that thou art fit to occupy the spring palace, to aid us in dispensing benevolence, and to assist us by supplementing our deficiencies. AD 514. 8th year, 1st month. The eldest prince consort, the imperial princess Kasuga, was late in coming out one morning, and was not in her ordinary state. The eldest prince's suspicions were aroused. He went into the palace, and found his consort lying on her couch weeping and sobbing. Her passion was such that she could not control it. The eldest prince, thinking it strange, inquired of her, saying, What cause of grief hast thou, that thou sobbest and weepest this morning? His consort said, Thy handmaiden's sorrow hath no other cause but this. The heaven, soaring birds, in order lovingly to nurture their young, build nests on the treetops, so deep is their affection for them. The creeping things that crawl upon the ground, in order to guard their offspring, make holes in the ground, so careful is their guardianship of them. How then should mankind be wanting in foresight? The grief of childlessness having befallen the eldest prince, thy handmaiden name also becomes extinct. The heir apparent sympathized with her in her sorrow, and informed the emperor, who made a decree, saying, Our son, Morocco, thy consort words are in profound accordance with reason. It is impossible that they should remain void, and without a consolatory response. Let her be granted the granary of Saho, to bear her name for 10,000 generations. 3rd month. Panfi built castles at Cha, Than and Ti, Sa, thus bringing itself in line with Manhie. They also established beacon towers, as a defensive measure against Japan. Moreover, they built castles at Nai, Nairal, Pai, and Masupi, and so connected with Ma, Chur, Haye, and Ch Hayu, Pu. They brought together troops and weapons, wherewith they harassed Silla, making booty of women and children and fleecing the villages. Their violence increasing, scarce any inhabitants remained. Their deeds of outrage, profligacy, injury, oppression, and murder were too numerous to set down in detail. AD 515. 9th year, spring, 2nd month, 4th day. General Mun, Kwai, the Baekje envoy, and his party asked leave to go away. By an imperial decree Mononobe, no Mureji was attached to them, and they were allowed to go back. The Baekje original record says, Mononobe no Chiche no Mureji. In this month they came to the island of Saatu, where they learned by report that men of Pan, Phi, with hate in their bosoms and venom in their mouths, were committing wanton outrage, trusting in brute force. Therefore Mononobe no Mureji, in command of a fleet of 500 warships, made straight for the estuary of Sa, and General Mun, Kwai departed by way of Silla. Summer, 4th month. Mononobe no Mureji remained at anchor in the estuary of Sa. 6th day. The Pan, Phi people raised an army and came to attack them. They stripped them of their clothing, plundered them of their property, and burnt all their tents. Mononobe no Mureji and his men were frightened, and took to flight, saving their lives with difficulty. They anchored at Mo Ra. AD 516. 10th year, summer, 5th month. Baekje sent Mok, Hirp of the former division, and the Pu, Ma Cap, he to entertain Mononobe no Mureji and his men at Mun, and to escort them into that country. All the officials brought forth clothing, axe, iron, and woven stuffs, assisting them by presents of their national products, which they piled up in the court. Kind visits of inquiry were made to them, and unusually abundant presents were bestowed on them. Autumn, 9th month. Baekje sent General Churi Chuk, Cha, along with Mononobe no Mureji, to come and give thanks for the grant of the territory of Mun. They also offered tribute of a scholar acquainted with the 5 classics, named Ko and Mu of Han, and asked that he should be exchanged for Tan Yang Nai. He was exchanged in accordance with this request. 14th day. Baekje sent General Chiang, Mak, Ko, and 2 Japanese, named Shinato and Ahita, to accompany Anchiang, the courier envoy, and his party, who came to our court to cement amicable relations. AD 518. 12th year, spring, 3rd month, 9th day. The capital was removed to Otokuni. AD 523. 17th year, summer, 5th month. King Mu, Nairn of Baekje, died. AD 524. 18th year, spring, 1st month. The Baekje heir apparent, Myurng, assumed the dignity. AD 526. 20th year, autumn, 9th month, 13th day. The capital was removed to Tamaho in Iher. AD 527. 21st year, summer, 6th month, 3rd day. Afumi no Kina no Omi, in command of an army of 60 men, was about to proceed to Imna, in order to re-establish and unite to Imna South Kara and Turk, Sa Than, which had been conquered by Silla, when Ihawi, Tsukashi no Kuni no Miyako, secretly plotted rebellion so that there was a delay of several years. Fearing that the matter would be hard to accomplish, he was constantly watching a favorable opportunity. Silla, knowing this, secretly practiced bribery with Ihawi and encouraged him to oppose the passage of Kina no Omi army. Hereupon Ihawi occupied the 2 provinces of Hai and Toyo and would not allow the taxes to be paid. Abroad he intercepted the route by sea and led astray the yearly tribute ships from the countries of Korear, Baekje, Silla, and Imna. While at home, he blocked the way for Kina no Omi army, which was being sent to Imna. He lifted up his voice in abusive language, saying, "Thou who hast now become an envoy wast formerly my companion." We rubbed shoulders and touched elbows. We ate the same food from the same vessels. How canst thou lightly be made an envoy, and make me come freely and prostrate myself before thee? He at length fought and would not receive him. He was haughty and self-conceited. For this reason, Kina no Omi was prevented midways from proceeding on his journey, and was detained. The emperor addressed Kanemura, Ohitomo no Ohimuraji, Arakahi, Mononobe no Ohimuraji, and Wabido, Kos no Oho Omi, saying, "Hawi of Tsukashi has rebelled, and has occupied the territory of the western wilds. Whom shall we now make general?" Ohitomo no Ohimuraji and the others all said, "For uprightness, humane bravery, and acquaintance with military matters, there is at present no one who goes out to the right of Arakahi." The emperor said, "Be it so. Autumn, 8th month, 1st day." The emperor made a decree, saying, "Ah, Ohimuraji, here is this Ihawi who will not obey us. Do thou go and chastise him." The Ohimuraji, Mononobe no Arakahi, with repeated obeisances, said, "Ah, Ihawi, that unprincipled knave of the western wilds, relies on the impediments of rivers and does not appear at court. He trusts to the steepness of the mountains and stirs up disorder. He subverts virtue and acts contrary to principle. He is insolent and wise in his own conceit. From Michai no Omi in ancient times down to Miruya, at present, have fought at the same time both for their emperor and to rescue the people from misery. This is simply owing to the help of heaven, and thy servant has always been impressed with its importance. How should he fail reverently to smite them?" The emperor charged him, saying, "The generalship of a good commander consists in dispensing kindness and exercising forbearance. He rules others with the leniency he shows to himself. In attack, he is like the bursting forth of a river. In combat, he resembles the rising of the storm." Again, he charged him, saying, "On a great commander depends the lives of the people and the existence of the state. Be earnest and reverently execute the celestial punishment." The emperor took up the battle axe in his own hands and delivered it to the Ohimuraji, saying, "We will control the country from Anato eastward. Do thou hold sway over the land from Tsukashi westwards. Dispense rewards and punishments absolutely, and trouble not thyself to make frequent reference to us." AD 528. 22nd year, winter, 11th month, 11th day. The commander, in-chief Arakahi, Mononobe no Ohimuraji, taking personal command, engaged battle with the rebel leader, Ihawi, in the district of Miwi in Tsukashi. The flags and drums approached close to each other. The dust became mingled. The critical moment for the two armies arrived, and the position was such that 10,000 deaths seemed unavoidable. At length he slew Ihawi, and eventually subdued the frontier land. 12th month. Kuzu, Kimmei of Tsukashi, fearing to be involved in his father's execution, offered to the emperor the granary of Kasuya, asking to be allowed to ransom his life. AD 529. 23rd year, spring, 3rd month. The king of Baekje addressed Ashiyama, Hatsumi no Omi, governor of Lower Tari, saying, "Now our tribute envoys have always to avoid the headlands and expose themselves to the winds and waves. In consequence of this, the goods they bear become wet and wholly spoiled and unsightly. I pray that thou wilt make the port of Tasa in Kara the crossing route by which to send thy servant tribute." Ashiyama no Omi made application to the emperor accordingly. This month Kason, Mononobe no Ise no Muraji, Kishi no Akina, and others were sent to make over the port to the king of Baekje. Hereupon the king of Kara spoke to the imperial envoys, saying, "This port ever since the establishment of the government house has been the port of passage for your servant tribute. How can you without grave reason change this state of things and grant it to a neighboring country, contrary to the original definitive enfeoffment of this territory? The imperial envoy Kasson and his colleagues were accordingly unable to make the grant openly. They retired to Ohashima and sent a clerk specially, by whom the grant to Ur was effected. Owing to this, Kara allied itself to Silla and bred hatred against Japan. The king of Kara married the king of Silla daughter, who eventually had issue by him. When Silla first sent a daughter, 100 men were sent away with her as her escort. When they were received, they were dispersed throughout the districts of the country and allowed to wear the Silla costume. But Arasatyun railed at their strange garments and sent messengers to return them secretly. Silla felt greatly insulted. He changed his mind and tried to get his daughter back, saying, "Formerly, when I received thy marriage proposals, I sanctioned the alliance. But since matters are now so, I request that the princess may be restored to me." Kwai, Pu, Rai Chika of Kara answered and said, "How can husband and wife be sundered again when they have once become united? Moreover, there are children. What will become of them if they are abandoned?" In the end, it came to pass that captured the 3 castles of Tu, Ka, Ko, Phi, and Phonamura. He also took 5 castles on the northern frontier. In this month, Ifumi no Kina no Omi was sent to Ara to urge Silla, in the emperor name, to re-establish southern Kara and Turk, Sa then. Baekje sent the Lord General Yun, Kwai Ma Na, Cap, Pi Ma Ro and others to Ara respectfully to hear the emperor decree. Silla, fearing lest the government which he had established in the frontier provinces should be destroyed, did not send a grandee. He only sent Pu, Kai, Na Ma Naye and Haye Na, Ma Naye to Ara respectfully to listen to the imperial decree. Hereupon Ara built a new high hall, into which the imperial ambassador was led up, the ruler of the country ascending the staircase behind him. 1 or 2 of the local grandees had already ascended the hall, but the Baekje envoys, the Lord General, and the others remained below. The consultations were repeated for many months in the hall above, until the Lord General and the others grew angry at having to remain in the courtyard. Summer, 4th month, 7th day. Kwai Nung, Mata Kenki, king of Imna, came to court. He addressed Kanemura, Ohatomo no Ohamureji, saying, "The several frontier provinces beyond the sea, ever since the time of the emperor in the womb, have had interior government houses placed in them. My land has not been abandoned, but the territory has been enfeoffed to me, not without good reason. But now Silla, in defiance of this original definitive enfeoffment, has frequently crossed the borders and invaded us. I pray, therefore, that thou wilt represent this to the emperor, so that he may come to the assistance of his servant country." The Ohamuraji Ohatomo, in accordance with his request, laid the matter before the emperor. In this month, an envoy was sent to escort Kwai Nung Ma Ta Kenki, and at the same time to convey to Ifumi no Kina no Omi, who was resident in Imna, the instructions of the emperor to investigate thoroughly the matter represented to him, and in a friendly way to dissipate their mutual suspicions. Hereupon Kina no Omi lodged at Kumaner, whither he summoned together the kings of the 2 countries, Sils and Baekje. Cha Rai Kai, king of Silla, sent Ku Kai Punaye and Baekje the Yunsalmi, Tune, Nai, to proceed to meet together at the place where Kina no Omi was. But the 2 kings did not attend in person. Kina no Omi was much incensed and called the 2 envoys to an account for it, saying, "It is the law of heaven that the small should wait upon the great. Why do the kings of the 2 countries send envoys in this disrespectful way, instead of coming in person to the meeting and receiving the emperor commands? But now, even if your kings came themselves to hear the imperial commands, I would not consent to deliver them, but would surely drive them away." Ku Kai, Pu Naye and the Yunsal Mi Tune, Nai, with dread in their hearts, returned each to his own country to call his king. Accordingly, Silla sent another envoy, the chief minister, Aichul, Punae Kaikenki, with a following of 3,000 men, to come and ask leave to hear the imperial commands. Kina no Omi, seeing from afar that he was being encompassed by several thousand armed men, left Kuminair and entered the castle of Kwai Chul, Kwai Rai in Imna. Aichul, Pu Nae, Kaikenki took up his lodging on the plain of Tatara, and not daring to go back, waited for 3 months, requesting leave repeatedly to hear the imperial message. But to the last, its communication was not vouchsafed him. Some men under Aichul, Pu Nae, Kai command were begging for food in the villages when they passed Makari, Kahachi Mumakahi no Abido, a retainer of Kina no Omi. Makari went in and hid behind somebody's gate, and, waiting till the beggars were passing, clenched his fists and struck at them from afar. The beggars, seeing this, said, "We have waited patiently for 3 months in hopes of hearing the emperor will. But you still refuse to communicate it, and harass the envoys who have been sent to listen to the imperial message. Hence, we see that your object is to befool and put to death the chief minister." So they reported to the chief minister all that they had seen, and he thereupon seized 4 villages, Kiem, Quan, He, Mu, A, Ta, and Y. Tha took possession of all the people and their goods and withdrew to his own country. Some said that it was the fault of Kina no Omi that these 4 villages, Taitara and the rest, were plundered. Autumn, 9th month. The Oho Omi, Kosno Abido, died. AD 530. 24th year, spring, 2nd month, 1st day. The emperor made an edict, saying, "From the emperor Iher, Hiko until King Mamaki, all put their trust in learned ministers and enlightened assistants." Therefore Michai no Omi propounded the policy, and divine Japan flourished. Ohohiko announced plans, and Anai was exalted. Among those princes of succeeding generations who were successful in re-establishing what had fallen into decay, what one has there ever been who did not rely upon wise counsels? Now, coming down to the time when the Emperor Wohitsus ruled the empire, auspiciously receiving it over from the previous sages, there was long peace and prosperity, during which morals became gradually deteriorated, and there was no awakening, while the government became gradually steeped in decay, and there was no reform. But he looked out for men, and each had advancement after his kind. If a man had great capacity, his shortcomings were not inquired into. If he had high abilities, his failures were not found fault with. It was for this reason that this emperor was enabled to serve the ancestral shrines, and not to endanger the temples of the land and of grain. Judging from this, could he have been wanting in enlightened assistance? During the 24 years which have elapsed since we took over the imperial office, the empire has enjoyed prosperity, and there have been no anxieties at home or abroad. The veins of the earth have been fertile, and the crops have reached maturity. Our secret fear is that the masses may in consequence of this acquire a habit, and that depending on it, they may become proud. Therefore let men be made to practice honest thrift, and let the great morality be inculcated, so that a mighty progress may be diffused abroad. From of old, it has been hard to appoint the right men to office. Now that this duty has devolved upon ourselves, ought we not to be watchful? Autumn, 9th month. An envoy from Imna made representation to the emperor, saying, "It is now 2 years since Kina no Omi proceeded to Kusamura, where he built a house and took up his residence." The statement in one book that it was 3 years includes the year of going and coming. But he is remiss in the discharge of his governmental duties. Now there are frequent disputes between the people of Japan and the people of Imna respecting children, which are difficult to settle. None of these has ever been decided. Kina no Omi is fond of setting the ordeal by boiling water and saying, "Those who are in the right will not be scalded. Those who are false will certainly be scalded." Owing to this, many persons have been scalded to death by plunging into the hot water. Moreover, he has put to death Natari and Sapuri, Korean children of Kimmei. The children born of Japanese marriages with barbarian women were accounted kara, ko. He constantly harasses the people, and there is never any amicable solution of difficulties. Hereupon the emperor, hearing of this conduct, sent a man to recall him. But he would not come. He took the trouble, however, to send Mikari, Kahachi no Muma, Kahai no Abido up to the capital with a message for the emperor, saying, "If thy servant return to the capital before carrying out the imperial instructions, his toil of travel would come to nothing. How should he get over his mortification? He humbly beseeches your majesty to await the execution of the national instructions. He will then proceed to court and confess his faults." After sending off this messenger, he further took counsel with himself, saying, "That Mitsugi no Kishi is also an imperial envoy. If he arrives back before me and represents my offenses to the emperor as they really are, they will certainly be aggravated." So he sent Mitsugi no Kishi at the head of a force to guard the castle of Isachi Mura. Hereupon the Arasatyu, seeing that a trivial matter was being made of great importance, would not apply himself to what was expected of him, but repeatedly urged his returning to court. But he persisted in his refusal to let him return. By this all his conduct was understood, and in their hearts a spirit of revolt was begotten. So he sent Kunie Sekwimo to Silla to ask for troops, and Nasukuri to Baekje to ask for troops. Kina no Omi, hearing of the arrival of the Baekje forces, went out against them and attacked P, firing. Half were killed or wounded. Baekje accordingly seized Nasukuri, punished him with handcuffs, and put him in the kang and chains. Then, along with Silla, they laid siege to the castle, and demanded of the Arasatyung with imprecations that Kina no Omi should be produced. But Kina no Omi clung to his castle and made a vigorous defense. His strength was such that he could not be taken prisoner. Upon this, the two countries measured out a suitable piece of ground, where they settled down for a month and built a castle. They then retired. This castle was called Kunie Mura. On their way home, they captured the 5 fortified places of Tune Nai, Kai Mura, Puna Mura, Mucha, Kai Mura A, Pu Ra Mura, and Ku, Kai Fa, Ta, Kai. Winter, 10th month. Mitsugi no Kishi arrived from Imna and informed the emperor of Kina no Omi arrogant and perverse disposition. He was inexperienced in the administration of government and never brought about amicable solutions. He disturbed Kara. Moreover, he followed his own impulses in a high-handed manner, while he at the same time put up with evils and did not prevent them. Therefore, Medzurako was sent to recall him. In this year, Kina no Omi, having received the summons, proceeded as far as Tsushima, where he fell ill and died. His funeral followed up the course of the river, and so entered a Fumi. His wife made a song, saying, "To Hurikata with the music of flutes he goes up, the youth of Kina of a Fumi, with the music of flutes goes up." When Medzurako first arrived in Imna, his people who remained in that country sent a song, saying, "The land of Kara, how should it be called so? Medzurako has come. By the crossing of Iki, opposite and afar, Medzurako has come." AD 531. 25th year, spring, 2nd month. The emperor took very ill. 7th day. The emperor died in the Tamaho Palace at Aiher, at the age of 82. Winter, 12th month, 5th day. He was buried in the Misasagi, on the Aoi Plain. A certain book says, the emperor died in the 28th year of his reign, namely the year Kinoi Tora. The statement in the text that he died in the 25th year of his reign, viz., the year Kanodo I, is taken from a passage in the original record of Baekje. This passage runs as follows. In the year Kanodo I of the cycle, the 3rd month, an army advanced to Ara and constructed the fortified place of Kwai, Turk. In this month, Koryo slew their king An. It is said, moreover, that the Emperor of Japan with the Prince Imperial died at the same time and were buried. This was the authority on which the statement was made. The year Kanodo, I corresponds to the 25th year of the reign. Later inquirers may ascertain which is correct. B. Nihongi, The Chronicles of Japan, Chapter 18. The Emperor Magri no Ohoi Hiro, Keiwanai Oshi take Keianaichai. The Emperor Magari no Ohoi Hiro, Kuni Oshi take, was the eldest child of the Emperor Wohodo. His mother name was Menoko, Haim. As to the emperor character, the walls were lofty, so that one could not peep in. He was brave and generous, and had the capacity of a ruler of men. In the 25th year of his reign, spring, the 2nd month, the 7th day, the Emperor Wohodo established Ohoi as emperor, and on the same day he died. In this month, Ohatomo no Kanamura no Ohamureji and Mononobe no Arkahi no Ohamureji were made Ohamureji, both being continued in their previous offices. AD 534. First year, spring, 1st month. The capital was removed to Maguri no Kanahashi, in the province of Yamato, by which name the palace was called. 3rd month, 6th day. On behalf of the emperor, functionaries took wedding presents to the imperial princess Kasuga no Yamada, daughter of the emperor Ohok, and made her empress. There were, besides, 3 consorts appointed, viz. Sateheim, daughter of Kos no Wabaito no Oho, Omi, Sateheim younger sister, Kaguraheim, and Yakaheim, daughter of Mononobe no Itahi no Ohamureji. Summer, 4th month, 1st day. The high steward, Ohamero Kashihade no Omi, by command of the emperor, sent a messenger to Ishimi to get pearls. The Kuni no Miyako of Ishimi delayed coming to the capital, and the time passed without their delivering them. Ohamero Kashihade no Omi was greatly incensed, and, having seized and bound the Kuni no Miyako, interrogated them as to the reason. Wakugo no Ata and the other Kuni no Miyako were afraid, and ran away, and concealed themselves in an inner chamber of the Hinder palace. The Empress Kasuga, unaware that they had come straight in, was startled and fell down deeply ashamed. Wakugo no Ata and the others, being already convicted of the crime of intrusion, and having become liable to severe punishment, humbly offered the Empress the Miake of Ishimi to be her absolute property, praying her to accept it by way of atonement for their offense of intrusion. A settlement was therefore made of the Miake of Ishimi. It was now divided and made into districts, which were attached to the province of Kadzusa. 5th month. Baekje sent the Ha Pu Siu Turk, Tyurk Turk, son and the Siang Pu Tu Turk, Kwai Chukwaru to come and render the imperial tribute, and separately to present a memorial. Autumn, 7th month, 1st day. The emperor made a decree, saying, "The empress, it is true, is of one body with the emperor, but their designations, one being outer and the other inner, are quite distinct. Moreover, let there be assigned a tract of Miake land from which to erect a pepper court, so that after generations may hand down its memory." Imperial commissioners were accordingly appointed to select good rice land. The imperial commissioners, having received this charge, addressed Ajihari, Ohoshi Kahachi no Ata, saying, "Thou shouldst now offer to the emperor the fat rice, land of Kiji." Ajihari conceived a sudden grudging and deceived the imperial commissioners, saying, "This rice, land is subject to drought and hard to irrigate. The surface water percolates readily, so that the expenditure of labor would be enormous, and the harvest very small." The imperial commissioners, in accordance with these words, made their report to the emperor without reserve. Winter, 10th month, 15th day. The emperor commanded Kanamura, Ohatomo no Ohamureji, saying, Although we have taken to us 4 wives, there has been up till now no heir. When 10,000 years have passed, our name will be extinct. What dost thou propose should now be done, our uncle of Ohitomo? Whenever we think of this, our anxiety knows no rest. Kanemura, Ohitomo no Mureji, addressed the emperor, saying, "This is also a subject of anxiety to thy servant. It is necessary that all the sovereigns of this country who rule the empire, whether they have heirs or not, should have something by which they should have a name." Kanemura, Ohitomo no Ohamureji, recommended to the emperor that the miake of Oharita with serfs from every province should be granted to Sateheim, that the miake of Sakurawi with serfs from every province should be granted to Kaguraheim, and that the miake of Naniha with spade, laborers from every district should be granted to Yakaheim as an indication to posterity, and an example by which to view the past. The emperor commanded, saying, "Let it be done as proposed, intercalary 12th month, 4th day." The emperor made a progress to Mishima. Kanemura, Ohitomo no Ohamureji, was in attendance. The emperor, through Ohitomo no Ohamureji, made inquiry as to good rice, land of the Agata Nushi Ihai, Bo. The Agata Nushi Ihai, Bo was delighted beyond measure, and with the utmost reverence and loyalty offered as a present Upper Mino and Lower Mino, Upper Kuhabara and Lower Kuhabara, as well as land in Takefu, 40 cho in all. Ohitomo no Ohamureji, by command of the emperor, addressed him, saying, "Of the entire surface of the soil, there is no part which is not a royal grant in fee. Under the wide heavens, there is no place which is not royal territory." The previous emperors therefore established an illustrious designation and handed down a vast fame. In magnanimity, they were a match with heaven and earth. In glory, they resembled the sun and moon. They rode afar and dispensed their mollifying influence to a distance. In breadth, it extended beyond the bounds of the capital and cast a bright reflection throughout the boundaries of the land, pervading everywhere without a limit. Above they were the crown of the 9 heavens. They passed abroad through all the 8 points of the compass. They declared their efficiency by the framing of ceremonial observances. They instituted music, thereby manifesting order. The resulting happiness was truly complete. There was gladness which tallied with that of past years. Now thou, Ajihari, being an obscure and insignificant subject of the realm, didst suddenly entertain a grudging as regards the lands of the crown, and hast lightly disregarded the messenger. It is the imperial will that thou, Ajihari, shalt henceforth cease to hold the office of local governor. Hereupon, the Agata Nushi Ihibo heart was filled with mingled joy and awe. He took his son Toriki and presented him to the Ohamureji as a servant. Then Ajihari, Ohoshi Kahachi no Atath, was afraid and had lasting regret. Prostrating himself on the ground, with the perspiration streaming from him, he addressed the Ohamureji, saying, "I am an ignorant subject, and my crime deserves 10,000 deaths. I pray humbly that I may be allowed to furnish from each district in spring, time 500 spade, laborers, and in the time of autumn 500, for the emperor's service. My descendants to all ages will pray for their lives in dependence on this, and they will keep it before them forever as an exemplary punishment." He separately presented to Ohitomo no Ohamureji 6 cho of rice, land in Sawada. This seems to have been the origin of the laborers of the Agata of Kahachi being attached to the miake of Takefu in Mishima as serfs. This month Hadaheim, daughter of Kikoyu, Ihoki no Mureji, stole a necklace belonging to Akoshi, Ohitomo no Ohamureji, and presented it to the Empress Kasuga. The matter was at length discovered, and Kikoyu gave his daughter, Hadaheim, to be a servant of the Unime. He also presented the miake of Ihakaib in Kashaib in the province of Iki, and therewith redeemed his daughter crime. Akoshi, Mononobe no Ohamureji, fearing that he might become implicated in the matter, could not feel secure, and presented to the Emperor Towachi B, with Kusasa, Toi and Nith no Haspe in the province of Ise, and also Wisgamebe in the land of Tsukashi. The Kuni no Miyako of the province of Musashi, Omi, Kasahara no Ata, had a dispute with a relation named Wogi as to who should be Kuni no Miyako. This went on for years and could not be settled. Wogi was of an obstructive and rebellious disposition. He had a high spirit, unapt for compliance. He secretly sought support from Wokuma, the Kuni of Kamitsukanu, and conspired with him to kill Omi. Omi became aware of this and made his escape to the capital, where he informed the court. When the matter came to be decided, Omi was made Kuni no Miyako, and Wogi was executed. Omi, Kuni no Miyako, his breast filled with mingled awe and gladness, could not restrain himself, but reverently offered to the state the 4 miyake of Yakinu, Takebana, Ohohi, and Kurasu. This was the year Kinoi Tora of the cycle. AD 535. Second year, spring, first month, 5th day. Let there be a great revel for 5 days, to the delight of the empire. Summer, 4th month, 1st day. The bee of the Tonri of Magari was established, and the bee of the Yuki of Magari. 5th month, 9th day. The miyake of Sashiki in the province of Tamba, the miyake of Ashira in the province of Afumi, the miyake of Mashiki and Uruka in the province of Wohari, the miyake of Midono in the province of Kamitsukanu, and the miyake of Wakanit in the province of Suruga. Autumn, 8th month, 1st day. By imperial command bee of dog, keepers were established in every province. 9th month, 3rd day. The emperor appointed Sakurawi Tanabe no Mureji, Agata no Inyukahi no Mureji, and Naniha no Kishi, to the charge of the revenues from the miyake. 13th day. The emperor specially commanded the Ohamureji, saying, "Let cattle be let loose on Ohasumi Jima, and in the fur, plain of Haim Jima at Naniha. By this we hope that a name will be handed down to after times. Winter, 12th month, 17th day." The emperor died in the palace of Kanabashi at Magari, at the age of 70. In this month, the emperor was buried in the Misasagi on the hill of Taikaya at Furuichi in the province of Kahachi. In this Misasagi, there were buried along with the emperor the empress, who was the imperial princess Kasuga no Yamada, and the emperor younger sister, the princess Kamasaki. The emperor take, WOHIRO, KUNIOSHITT. The emperor take, Wo Hiro, Kuni Ashitate was the second child of the emperor Wohodo, and the younger brother by the same mother of the emperor Magari no Ohoi Hiro, Kuni Ashitate Kanai. The emperor Magari, no Ohoi Hiro Kuni Ashitate, Kanahi died in the 12th month of the 2nd year of his reign, leaving no heir. The ministers in a body delivered up the sword and mirror to Takwo Hirokuni Ashitate no Mikoto, and made him assume the imperial dignity. As to his character, his capacity was unalloyed throughout, his intelligence surpassingly bright, and he did not play the ruler, making a boast to people of his abilities. Superior men gave him their allegiance. AD 536. First year, spring, 1st month. The capital was transferred to Ihorino in Hinokuma, whence the palace took its name. 2nd month, 1st day. Ohatomo no Kenamura no Ohamureji and Mononobe, no Arkahi, no Ohamureji were appointed Ohamureji, both as before. Moreover, Soga no Iname no Sukyun was made Oho, Omi, and Abe no Ohamero no Omi Debu. 3rd month, 1st day. The functionaries petitioned that an empress might be appointed. 8th day. The emperor commanded, saying, "Let her who is already my proper consort, viz., the imperial princess Takebana no Nakatsu, daughter of the emperor Ohok, be appointed empress." She bore to him 1 son and 3 daughters. The eldest was called the imperial princess Ishi Haim. The next was called the imperial princess Koishi Haim. The next was called the Imperial Princess Kura no Wakaya Haim, and the next the Imperial Prince Kamu. Uy, ha. He was the ancestor of the two families of the Tajihi no Kimmei and the Ine no Kimmei. The concubine whom he already had, viz. Ohoshi Kahachi no Wakugo Haim, bore to him one son, named the Imperial Prince Hinowo. He was the ancestor of the Kimmei of Shihida. Summer, 5th month, 1st day. The emperor made an edict, saying, "Food is the basis of the empire. Yellow gold and 10,000 strings of cash cannot cure hunger. What avails 1,000 boxes of pearls to him who is starving of cold?" Now the province of Tsukushi is a place reached by visitors to our court from far and near. It is a barrier passed by travelers going and coming. Therefore the countries beyond the sea, awaiting the water of the ocean, come as our guests. Looking up to the clouds of heaven, they bring us tribute. From the days of the emperor in the womb down to ourselves, grain has been stored up and hordes of provisions accumulated as a distant preparation for evil years, and for the cordial entertainment of our good guests. For the peace of our country, there is nothing better than this. We therefore send a Somo, no Kimmei, to transport thither a further supply of grain from the Miake of the district of Mamuda in Kahachi. Let Soga no Oho, Omi and Iname no Sukyun send Wohari no Mureji to transport grain of the Miake of the province of Wohari. Let Arkahi, Mononobe no Ohamureji send Nyanomi no Mureji to transport grain from the Miake of Nyanomi. Let Abe no Omi send Iga no Omi to transport grain from the Miake of the province of Iga. Let there be built a government house at Nanotsu no Kuche. Moreover, the Miake of the three provinces of Tsukushi, Hai, and Toyo are dispersed and remote. Transport is therefore impeded by distance. In the case of an emergency, it would be difficult to provide for sudden needs. Let the various districts therefore be charged each severally to transfer, and to erect one jointly at Nanotsu no Kuche, thus making provision against extraordinary occasions and long preserving the lives of the people. Speedily go down to the districts and make known to them our behests. Autumn, 7th month. Mononobe no Arkahi no Ohamureji died. This year was the year Hinoi Tatsu of the cycle. AD 537. Second year, winter, 10th month, 1st day. By reason of Silla hostility towards Imna, the emperor commanded Ohatomo no Kenamura no Ohamureji to send his sons Iha and Sade Hiko to the assistance of Imna. At this time, Iha stayed in Tsukushi, where he took charge of the local government and made preparations against the Three Han. Sade Hiko went to Imna and restored peace there. He also lent aid to Baekje. AD 539. Fourth year, spring, 2nd month, 10th day. The emperor died in the palace of Ihorino in Hinokuma at the age of 73. Winter, 11th month, 17th day. The emperor was buried in the Misasagi at the top of the acclivity of Tsukijima, in Musa, in the province of Yamato. There were buried with him in the same Misasagi the empress, viz., the imperial princess Takabana and her infant child. There is no mention in the records of the year of the empress' death. Probably the infant child had died before reaching manhood. B. Nihongi, The Chronicles of Japan, Chapter 19. The Emperor Ame, Keiwanai Oshi, Hrki Hro and Iche. The Emperor Ame, Kuni Oshi, Hiraki Hiro, Niha was the rightful heir of the Emperor Wohodo. His mother name was the Empress Tashiraka. The emperor loved him and kept him constantly at his side. When the emperor was young, he had a dream in which a man appeared to him, saying, "If thou makest a favorite of a man called Hada no Ohitsuchi, thou wilt surely possess the empire when thou dost attain to manhood." When he awoke, he sent messengers to search everywhere. They got from the province of Yamashiro, the district of Ki, and the township of Fukakusa, a man whose name and surname were actually as in the dream. Upon this, joy pervaded his whole frame. "A dream without precedent," he exclaimed and addressed him, saying, "Has anything happened thee?" He answered and said, "Nothing. Only when thy servant was on his way back from Ise, whither he had gone to trade, he fell in with 2 wolves on a mountain, who were fighting with one another, and were defiled with blood. Thy servant got down from his horse, and, having rinsed his mouth and hands, made prayer to them, saying, Ye are august deities, and yet ye take delight in violence. If ye were to fall in with a hunter, very speedily ye should be taken. So thy servant restrained them from fighting together, and having wiped them and cleansed their blood, stained hair, eventually let them go, thus saving both their lives. The emperor said, This is undoubtedly your reward. So he made him to serve near his own person, and treated him with a favor which was daily renewed, so that he arrived at the height of great wealth. When the emperor came to the throne, he appointed him to the treasury. In winter, the 10th month of the 4th year of his reign, the Emperor Takuo Hiro, Kuni Oshi, Tate died. The imperial prince, the Emperor Aim Kuni Oshi, Hiraki Hiro Niha, addressed the ministers, saying, I am young in years and of shallow knowledge. I have not yet had experience of the affairs of government. The Empress Yamada has a clear acquaintance with all matters of administration, and I pray you to apply to her and then decide. The Empress Yamada rendered humble thanks, saying, Your handmaiden has been treated with favor far beyond seas and mountains. But the manifold machinery of government is much too difficult a charge for a woman to undertake it. Now the imperial prince honors age and shows affection to the young. He treats the wise with courtesy, and all day long neglects his food while he attends to others. Not only so, but young as he is, the point comes through. Already he has at his disposal an auspicious reputation. He is of a mild disposition and earnest in compassionate care. I pray the ministers that they will, without delay, cause him to ascend to the dignity and preside gloriously over the empire. 12th month, 5th day. The imperial prince Aim, Kuni Oshi, Hiraki Hiro, Niha assumed the imperial dignity. The empress was honored with the title of Grand Empress. Ohitomo no Kenemura no Ohimureji and Mononobe, no Akoshi no Ohimureji were made Ohimureji, and Soga no Iname no Sukyun no Oho. Omi was made Oho, Omi, all as before. AD 540. First year, spring, 1st month, 15th day. The officials petitioned for the appointment of an empress. The emperor gave command, saying, Let my proper consort, Ishiheim, daughter of the emperor Take, Wo Hiro, Kuni Oshi Tate, be appointed empress. She bore him 2 sons and 1 daughter. The eldest was called the imperial prince Yada no Tama, Katsu no Ohoi. The middle one was called Wasada Nanakura Fudo, Damashiki no Mikoto. The youngest was called the imperial princess Kasanuhi. 2nd month. A man of Baekje named Kai Pu came over as an emigrant. He was settled in Yamamura, in the district of Safu no Kami, in the province of Yamato. He was the ancestor of the present Kachifu of Yamamura. 3rd month. The Yamishi and the Hayato, both bringing their people with them, came and rendered allegiance. Autumn, 7th month, 13th day. The capital was removed to Shikishima, in the district of Shiki, in the province of Yamato. It was accordingly called the Palace of Kanazashi in Shikishima. 8th month. Courier, Baekje, Silla and Imna all sent envoys together to render tribute. The men of Tizin and of Han, etc., the emigrants from the various frontier nations were assembled together, settled in the provinces and districts, and enrolled in the registers of population. The men of Tizin numbered in all 7,050, 3 houses. The director of the treasury was made Hada no Tomo no Miyako. 9th month, 5th day. the emperor made a progress to the shrine of Hafuritsu at Naniha. He was accompanied by Kanemura, Ohatomo no Ohimureji, Inamachi, Kos no Omi, and Akoshi, Mononobe no Ohimureji. The emperor inquired of the ministers, saying, "How many troops would be required to conquer Silla?" Akoshi, Mononobe no Ohimureji, and the rest addressed the emperor, saying, "With only a few soldiers it would not be easy to chastise Silla." Formerly, in the 6th year of the reign of the Emperor Wohodo, Baekje sent envoys petitioning that the 4 districts of Imna, viz. Upper Tari, Lower Tari, Seata, and Muro might be granted to him. Kanemura, Ohatomo no Ohimureji, readily agreed with the request contained in this petition and granted the demand. In consequence of this, Silla has cherished resentment for many years. Its chastisement should not be lightly undertaken. Now Ohatomo no Kanemura stayed in his house at Sumiyoshi, and on the pretense of illness, did not attend court. The emperor sent Magariko, Awomi no Ohatoshi, courteously to make kind inquiries. The Ohimureji humbly thanked the emperor and said, "That which ails me is naught else than this. The ministers now say that it was I who lost Imna. Therefore I was afraid and did not come to court." So he made a present to the messenger of a saddle horse and showed him great friendliness and honor. Awomi no Ohatoshi made a faithful report to the emperor, who commanded, saying, "Thou hast long shown the utmost fidelity. Be not moved by what people may say." He acquitted him of all guilt and showed him increasing favor. This year was the year Kanoi Saru of the cycle. AD 541. Second year, spring, 3rd month. The emperor took to him 5 concubines. The senior concubine was the imperial princess Kurawakaya Haim, younger sister of the empress. She bore to him the imperial prince Iso no Kami. The next was also a younger sister of the empress, named the imperial princess Hikage. The statement made here that she was the empress' younger sister is clear. This is the daughter of the emperor Hinokuma, no Takada. And yet, in enumerating the consorts, the name of her consort, mother, and the name of the imperial princess do not appear. I do not know what writing it is taken from. Some future inquirer may discover. She bore to the emperor the imperial prince Kura. The next was the daughter of Soga no Omi, Iname no Sukyun. Her name was Katashi Haim. She had 7 sons and 6 daughters. The first was called the imperial prince Ohoi. He became Takabana no Tyohi no Mikoto. The second was called the imperial princess Ihane. At first, she was priestess to the great deity of Ise, but was afterwards dismissed, being convicted of an intrigue with the imperial prince Mubaragi. The third was called the imperial prince Atori. The fourth was called Toyamite Kashikia no Mikoto. The fifth was called the imperial prince Mariko. The sixth was called the imperial princess Ohiake. The seventh was called the imperial prince Iso no Kami, B. The eighth was called the imperial prince Yamashiro. The ninth was called the imperial princess Ohatomo. The 10th was called the imperial prince Sakurawi. The 11th was called the imperial princess Katano. The 12th was called the young imperial prince Takebana Gamoto. The 13th was called the imperial princess Tonri. The next was a younger sister of Katashi Haim by the same mother, named Wanin, Gimme. She bore 4 sons and 1 daughter. The first was called the imperial prince Mubaragi. The second was called the imperial prince Katsuraki. The third was called the imperial princess Hasitsukabe Anahobe. The fourth was called the imperial prince Hasitsukabe Anahobe. The fifth was called the imperial prince Haspe. One writing has, the first was called the imperial prince Mubaragi. The second was called the imperial princess Hasitsukabe Anahobe. The third was called the imperial prince Hasitsukabe Anahobe. otherwise called the Imperial Prince Sumuto. The fourth was called the Imperial Prince Katsuraki. The fifth was called the Imperial Prince Haspe. One writing says, the first was called the Imperial Prince Mubaragi. The second was called the Imperial Prince Sumuto. The third was called the Imperial Princess Hasitsukabe Anahobe. The fourth was called the Imperial Prince Hasitsukabe Anahobe, also called the Imperial Prince Amatsuka no Ko. The fifth was called the Imperial Prince Haspe. In the original record of the emperors, there are many old characters, which underwent frequent alterations in the hands of the compilers. Later men, in learning to read them, modified them to suit the meaning, and owing to their being handed down by repeated copying, errors eventually arose, by which the order was disturbed, and elder and younger mistaken for one another. We have now investigated old and new, and restored the truth. In cases where it was difficult to ascertain it, we have selected and followed one and noted down carefully the variants. All other follow the same rule. The next was the daughter of Kasuga no Hifuri no Omi, by name Nukako. She bore the imperial princess Kasuga no Yamada and the imperial prince Takabana no Maro. Summer, 4th month. The second Kenki of Ara named I, Than Haye, and the Te, Pu Sun Kuch, Urai, the Siang, Siu, Y of Kara named Kakyarn Haye, the Kenki of Koma named San Pan Haye, the Kenki son, the junior Kenki of Tara named I Tha, Ko Tha son of the Kenki of Sa, I Kai, these Kenki together with Kibai no Omi, the commissioner for Imna, proceeded to Baekje, and together heard the imperial edict read. Seong Myung, king of Baekje, addressing the Kenki of Imna and the others, said, "The Emperor of Japan decrees that Imna shall be wholly re-established. Now by what means is this to be done? Why should not each of you with the deepest loyalty develop the sage purpose?" The Kenki of Imna and the others answered and said, "Already 2 or 3 times proposals have been made to Silla, but no answer has been received. Let the present intention be again communicated to Silla, and if there is still no reply, it will now be well that all of us should send envoys to go and lay the matter before the emperor. It will then depend on the great king, will whether Imna is to be established or not. We shall humbly receive his instructions. Who shall dare to offer a word of objection? By etc. is meant Turk, Kwai, then Ankara. The reference is to the disaster of the conquest of Hak, Sion, and the other provinces. King Seong Myung said, "In former times, during the reigns of my ancestors, King Sok Ko and King Kwai Siu, the Kenki of Ara, Kara, and Hak, Sion first sent envoys and entered into communication. We became knitted together by a cordial friendship, and they were treated as children or younger brothers. It was my hope that they should flourish continuously. But now they have been deceived by Silla and have caused the emperor to be wroth, and Imna to be angry. This is the fault of me, the incompetent one, for which I am profoundly sorry. I therefore sent Maro, the Ha, Pu Chung, Cha of Fireng, and Mino, the Seong, Peng Kap Siu, to Kara to meet the Imna authorities, and having sworn together, thereafter earnestly and perseveringly to concert measures for the establishment of Imna, without forgetfulness either morning or evening. Now the terms of the emperor commands are let Imna be at once established. I therefore wish to consult with you as to the means of setting up Imna and the other provinces. Let this matter be well weighed by you. Moreover, I shall send for Silla to the Imna frontier and ask whether he means to obey or not. Upon receiving his answer, we can send envoys together to report to the emperor and humbly receive his instructions. If, however, before the return of the envoys, Silla watches an opportunity and invades Imna, I will go to its assistance so that there is no need for anxiety. Let us, however, make good preparation to defend ourselves. Let us be watchful and not forgetful. As to what you specially tell me, viz., that you fear disaster for Hak, Sion, etc., It is not the aggressiveness of Silla which has made this possible. Turk, Kwai, then lies on the border between Kara and Silla, and for several successive years has been harassed and defeated. Imna has not been able to render it assistance, and it has therefore suffered ruin. South Kara, being a very small place, was unable promptly to make defense, and knew not whom to rely upon. Therefore it has come to ruin. As to Ch Hack, Sion, the upper and lower classes practice double, dealing so much so as to wish voluntarily to join Silla and to hold secret communication with that object. Therefore it has come to ruin. Viewed in this light, the downfall of these three provinces had very sufficient causes. Formerly, Silla asked help from Courier, and with its assistance invaded Imna and Baekje, but to this day without conquering them. How then could Silla alone destroy Imna? If you and I, the incompetent one, now join our powers, and with united hearts place our inward trust in the Emperor, Imna will assuredly be established. Each received presents according to his station, and they took their way homewards joyfully. Autumn, 7th month. Baekje, hearing that the authorities of Ara were intriguing with Silla, sent Piramako, Nassau of the senior division, the Nassau Siern, Mun, the Nassau of the middle division, Mok, Hirp-mi Sion, and Kaino Omi. The Nassau Kaino Omi was probably the son of Kaino Omi by a marriage with a Korean woman, who therefore remained in the country and was made Nassau by Baekje. It is not clear who his father was. Other cases all follow this rule. The Nassau Mimicea, on a mission to Ara, to summon to them the agents of Silla and Imna, and to concert measures for the establishment of Imna. He separately reproved Kahachi no Ata, the chief Japanese authority of Ara, roundly for intriguing with Silla. The Baekje, original record, has Kapachipi Ata Akyurnanas. This is not clear. Addressing Imna, he said, "In past times, my ancestors, Kings Sako and Kwisyu, were first joined in amity with the former Kanki. They became, as it were, brethren. I therefore look upon you as my children or younger brothers, and you regard me as a father or elder brother. Together we serve the Emperor, and unitedly repel hostile violence, procuring up till now the peace of the country and the integrity of the state. When I think of the friendly language of my ancestors and the former Kanki, it seems to me like the shining sun. From that time to this, I have sedulously maintained friendship with my neighbors and have always dealt honestly with the allied countries. My affection for them passes that of flesh and bones. It was the constant prayer of me, the inept one, that such a fair beginning might have a fitting end. I cannot understand why people should lightly give credit to vague rumors, and for a space of several years should have impulsively abandoned their purpose. It may be said of such, in the words of the men of old, that they repent when it is too late. But if, as regards the present, they swear to the gods as far as the cloud, spaces above, and down to the region within the springs below, and amend their faults so as to accord with the past, revealing all that they do without the least reserve, so that their loyalty penetrates to the spirits, and if they take themselves severely to task, this may again be accepted. We are told that of those who stand in the position of successors, honor is to him who keeps well in the rut made by his predecessors, and makes the hall and roof to prosper, thereby accomplishing a meritorious service. I therefore wish to go back and reverence the kindly feeling of the friendship of former ages, and, in respectful obedience to the terms of the Emperor decree, rescue from Silla the provinces torn off by it, viz. South Kara, Turk, Kwai then, etc., and restoring them to their original connection and making them transfer to Imna their substance, strive to play the part to them of father or elder brother, constantly doing homage to Japan. It is this which deprives my food of flavor and robs me of peaceful slumber, my mind being full of anxious thought while I regret the past and practice self-discipline for the present. Now all the world knows, Silla blandishing words and subtle deceptions. You, out of an indiscriminating confidence in them, have already fallen a prey to the designs of others. At the present moment, where the frontier of Imna borders on Silla, let there be permanent defensive preparations. How can your watchfulness be relaxed? Here it is to be feared lest you, having fallen into and become entangled in the nets and pitfalls of slanderous deceit, should ruin your country and overturn your state, becoming yourselves the captives of others. When I, the incompetent one, reflect on this, I am full of anxious thought and can find no rest. It has come to my ears that during the meetings at which Silla and Imna concerted their plans, there were manifested portents of trees and serpents. This is notorious to everybody. Now luck sent by the powers of evil is for the sake of making people correct their conduct. Natural catastrophes are given for men instruction. It is just in this way that bright heaven communicates to us, as a lesson, tokens of the former spirits. When misfortune has reached a climax, one may have remorse. When ruin has come, one may think of establishing himself again, but what avails it? If you will now be guided by me and give obedience to the emperor command, Imna may be restored. Why should you apprehend ill success? If you desire to hold permanently your original territory and long to rule over your old subjects, here lies the means of doing so. Should you not be watchful? King Myung further addressed the Japanese authorities of Imna, saying, "The emperor decree amounts to this. If Imna falls, you are left without resources. If Imna is established, you will in that case have succor. You should therefore join us in setting up Imna and restoring it to its former position, so as to provide a help for yourselves and a kindly maintenance for your people. Receive with respect the imperial orders. Let your hearts be filled with awe and dread, and make a vow to devote your earnest efforts. Thus it may be hoped that Imna may be rendered prosperous, and long serve the emperor, as in former times. Let us first consider what is in the future, and then let us take repose. If you, the Japanese authority, in full reliance on the imperial decree, lend aid to Imna, this will assuredly be attended by the emperor approval, and you personally will reap rewards. Moreover, the high Japanese officials, having been long resident in the land of Imna, close to the Silla frontier, are acquainted with the state of affairs in that country. They have not only for this year, but long been poisoning Imna and devising means of defense against Japan. The reason they have not made up their minds to more active measures is that near, they are ashamed in the eyes of Baekje, and afar, they fear the emperor. So they beguile the court with feigned service, and maintain a false appearance of amity with Imna. In thus stimulating to action the authorities of Imna, it is my desire that before they have annexed Imna, and while they still maintain a feigned appearance of submissiveness, you should now seize the opportunity of their being unprepared, and raising all your forces conquer them. The imperial decree urging us to establish South Kara and Turk, Kwai, Than does not date merely from a few tens of years ago, and yet Silla has not once listened to this order, as is well known to you. Now, can anything be better than, in respectful faith in the emperor, to endeavor to establish Imna? I fear, however, lest you, too readily trusting to blandishing speeches and lightly accepting false statements, may cause the ruin of the land of Imna and bring dishonor on the emperor. Be warned against this, and do not be deceived by others. AD 542. Third year, autumn, 7th month. Baekje sent Kaino Omi Nasal Mamasa and Kwai, Nyern, Nasal of the Middle Division to come and report to the emperor on the administration of Imna in Lower Kara, and to present at the same time a memorial. AD 543. Fourth year, summer, 4th month. Kaino Omi, Nasal Mamasa of Baekje and the rest took their departure. Autumn, 9th month. King Myung of Baekje sent Chin, Mu Kwai Mun, Nasal of the former division, the Hodart Kwai, Cha Kwai Nu and Makamu, Sidirk of the Mononobe, with a present of Punam products and 2 slaves. Winter, 11th month, 8th day. Sumori no Muraji was sent to Baekje with a message from the emperor to the following effect. Let the Baekje prefects and governors of castles resident in that part of Lower Kara, which belongs to Imna, be joined to the Japanese jurisdiction. He also bore an imperial decree, which commanded as follows. For more than 10 years past, you have presented memorials saying that Imna should be established. But notwithstanding these representations, the matter still remains unaccomplished. Now Imna is the roof tree of your country. If the roof tree is broken, who shall erect a house with it? Our reflections rest in this. You ought speedily to establish Imna. If you establish Imna speedily, it is necessary to say that Kahachi no Ata and his followers will of their own accord retire. On this day King Myung, having heard the imperial decree, asked the opinion in succession of his 3 chief ministers, his treasurer and his high officials, saying, the imperial edict runs so. What is now to be done? The 3 chief ministers and the rest answered and said, our prefects and governors of castles in Lower Kara should not leave our jurisdiction. As to establishing the country, the imperial decree should be at once complied with. 12th month. King Myung of Baekje again published the former imperial decree to all his officials, saying, the emperor decree is to this effect. Now what is next to be done? The senior minister Sa Ch Hek, Kwai Nu, the middle minister Mok, Hyerp Mana, the junior minister Mok Yun Kwai the Turk, Sol Pai Rai Mak Ko the Turk, Sol Tong Searing Tu Thyrn the Turk, Sol Mok Hyerp Mi Sian the Turk, Sol Kuk Siu Ta and the Nus Sol Yurn Pai Chirn Na counseled alike, saying, thy servants are by nature stupid and have no good scheme at all to propose. It is best to carry out the imperial instructions for the establishment of Imna. Thou shouldst now summon the agents of Imna and the Kenki of the various provinces, and concert along with them a common policy, which should be laid before the emperor in proof of thy good intentions. Kahachi no Ata, Yanasa and Mato are still resident in Ara Imna, and it is to be feared that it will be hard to establish it. Add therefore a further memorial, praying that they may be removed to their original place. King Myung said, your advice, my ministers, is thoroughly in accordance with my feelings. Accordingly, in this month he sent the Seed Turk, Ko, Pun to summon the agent of Imna and the agent of the Japanese authority. They both answered and said, when New Year Day has passed, we will go and hear. AD 544. 5th year, spring, 1st month. The land of Baekje sent messengers to summon the agents of Imna and of the Japanese authorities. They both answered and said, the season has come for worshipping the gods. When the festival is over, we will go. This month Baekje sent messengers a second time to summon the agents of Imna and of the Japanese authorities. Neither the Japanese authorities nor Imna sent their agents, but sent mean persons, so that Baekje was unable to concert with them measures for the establishment of Imna. 2nd month. Baekje sent the Seed Turk Mamu, the Seed Turk Ko, Hun Ok and the Seed Turk, Sana no, Ch Ha, Chayu to Imna with the following message to the Japanese authorities and the Kenki of Imna. I sent Kaino Omi, the Nassau, Mi, Ma Sa, the Nassau, Kwai Nyrn and Mononobe no Mureji, the Nassau, Yang Kata, to have an audience of the emperor. Mi, Ma Sa and his colleagues returned from Japan with a decree which declared as follows. Do ye, in concert with the Japanese authorities residing there, speedily prepare a good plan such as may meet our wishes. See that you are vigilant, and be not imposed upon by the wiles of others. Moreover, Tsumari no Mureji, when he returned from Japan, communicated an imperial message and inquired respecting the administration of Imna. I therefore desired, in concert with the Japanese authorities and the Imna agents, to come to a decision regarding the government of Imna, which I might report to the emperor. I sent for them 3 times, but until now they have not arrived. For this reason, I have been unable to discuss with you a plan for the government of Imna and make my report to the emperor. It is now my intention to invite Tsumori no Muraji to remain, and by another quick messenger to send the emperor a full report of the condition of affairs. This messenger will be dispatched to Japan on the 10th of the 3rd month. On his arrival, the emperor will undoubtedly ask questions about you. I would therefore recommend you, the chief Japanese authority and the Kenki of Imna, each to dispatch messengers in company with my messenger to go and receive such commands as the emperor may give. Baekje separately addressed Kahachi no Ata, saying, "From former times until now I have heard of nothing but thy misdeeds. Thy ancestors, this is a corruption and not clear, have all fostered wicked lies, and led away by Kimmei, have placed implicit faith in his statements. Without sorrow for thy country disasters, or regard for my wishes, they recklessly indulged in violence and oppression. Expelled on this account, thou and thy people came to reside in Imna, where thou hast constantly preached evil. The daily increasing ruin of Imna is due to thee. Although but an insignificant person, thou art like the small fire which burns up the hills and moors, and extends to the villages and hamlets. Owing to thy evil deeds, ruin is impending over Imna, with the result that eventually the Miake of the various provinces west of the sea will become unable permanently to render service to the emperor. I am now sending an address to the emperor, praying that he may remove thee and thy people, and send thee back to thy former place. Thou also wilt go and hear." Further, addressing the chief Japanese authority of Imna and the Kenki of Imna, he said, "In regard to the matter of establishing Imna, how could anyone do so without borrowing the emperor power? It was therefore my intention to apply to the emperor and request of him an army with which to succor the land of Imna. The provisions for this army would be supplied by me. Whilst the number of the troops was still undecided, it was naturally impossible to make any fixed arrangements for the transport of provisions. It was therefore my request that we should meet and consider together what was best to be done, and having selected the most advantageous course, to report to the emperor accordingly. Therefore I sent repeated summonses to you, but since you steadily refused to come, it was impossible to advise with you." The chief Japanese authority answered and said, "The reason why the Imna agent did not go in compliance with thy summons was because I would not allow him to do so. When I sent a report to the emperor, the return messenger brought the following instructions from His Majesty. We are about to send Ika no Omi to Silla and Tsumori no Muraji to Baekje. Do thou await the imperial message which they will bring, and meanwhile refrain from taking the trouble of going to Silla or Baekje." Such were the imperial instructions. When I heard of Ika no Omi embassy to Silla, I sent after him to inquire the emperor message. He said, "Let the Japanese Omi and the agent of Imna proceed to Silla, and apply to Silla to receive communication of the emperor orders." Nothing was said about going to Baekje to learn his commands. Afterwards, Tsumori no Muraji eventually arrived, and when passing through this place, mentioned this subject and said, "My present mission to Baekje is for the purpose of getting rid of the Baekje prefects and governors of castles resident in Lower Kara. I have only heard of this question, and know nothing of any instructions to Imna and the Japanese authorities to meet Baekje in order to hear the emperor commands. This is why we have not gone, and Imna is not responsible." Hereupon the Kenki of Imna said, "In accordance with the summons of thy messenger, it was our desire to proceed." But the chief Japanese authority would not allow us to be dispatched, and that was why we did not do so. As for the instructions which the great king, prompted by his feelings, has addressed to us, with the object of establishing Imna, it is impossible for us adequately to express our joy at seeing them. 3rd month. Baekje sent the Nassau, A Meng Tune Mun, the Nassau of Her Sie, and Kapi, the Nassau of Mononobe, to present a memorial to the emperor, as follows. The Nassau Mima saw the Nassau Kwai Nirn and their colleagues came to thy servant frontier state bearing an imperial decree, which said, You should concert a good plan along with the Japanese authorities resident there and speedily establish Imna. Be on your guard and do not allow yourselves to be deceived by others. Moreover, Tsumari no Muraji and his colleagues came to thy servant frontier state, bearing an imperial message in which inquiry was made as to the establishment of Imna. I received the imperial command with reverence, and without presuming to delay, desired to concert measures along with them. I therefore sent messengers to summon the Japanese authorities and Imna. They all answered and said, "The new year has come. Please let it pass, and then we will go." A long time elapsed, and yet they did not arrive. I again sent messengers to summon them. They all answered and said, "The festival time has come. Please let it pass, and then we will go." A long time elapsed, and yet they did not arrive. I again sent messengers to summon them. But inasmuch as they sent mean men, it was impossible to concert plans. Now Imna's failure to come in answer to my summons was not their own idea. It was the work of the unprincipled sycophancy of Ahiern, Ya, Na, Sa and Cha, Ro, Matu. Now Imna treats Ara as an elder brother and simply follows its wishes, while the people of Ara regard the Japanese authority as heaven and are implicitly guided by its wishes. Now Akuba no Omi, Kibai no Omi, and Kahachi no Atath are all simply at the beck and nod of Yanasa and Mato. Yanasa and Mato are only mean persons of no family, yet they exercise absolute authority over the Japanese administration. Moreover, they restrain Imna and prevent it from sending envoys. For these reasons, I was unable to concert measures with them and make answer to your majesty. I therefore detained Kwai, Ma Nu, Kai and sent another messenger, swift as a flying bird, with this report to your majesty. But if you allowed those two men to remain in Ara, they would carry on their manifold intrigues, making it impossible for Imna to be established, and assuredly preventing the states west of the sea from doing their service. It was my humble petition that these two men might be removed and sent home, and that you should take measures for the establishment of Imna by instructions to the Japanese authorities and to Imna. Therefore thy servant sent the Nassau, Mamasa and the Nassau, Quiniern along with Kwai Ma Nu, Kai to present this memorial and to hear your majesty answer. Hereupon your majesty gave command, saying, "It was not by our wishes that Akuba no Omi and the others went to Silla. Formerly, when in Kai, me and the Kanki of Arrow were in office, that country was harassed by Silla, and the people were unable to attend to their husbandry. Baekje is so far distant that it was unable to help them in their need. Akuba no Omi and the others therefore went to Silla, and just obtained leave for them to plow and sow. Is it necessary to repeat what we have already told thee, viz., that if Imna is established, Yanasa and Mato will withdraw of their own accord? I received your majesty commands with humility. Joy and dread mingled in my bosom. Silla, however, was deceiving the imperial court, and knew how to set at naught the imperial commands. In spring, Silla seized Chak, Sion, and having expelled my guards of Mount Kanye, at length kept possession of it. The part bordering on Ara was cultivated by Ara. The part bordering on Mount Kanye was cultivated by Silla. Each cultivated for themselves, and there was no mutual encroachment. But Yanasa and Mato passed over and cultivated the territory of others. In the 6th month, they ran away to Inchimi. Afterwards, when Kos no Omi came, Silla ceased to encroach on and harass the territory of others, and there were no complaints from Ara of being unable to attend to husbandry owing to the harassments of Silla. Thy servant was formerly told that Silla, every spring and autumn, assembled troops in large numbers with the object of invading Ara and Hassan, or as some say, to invade Kara. Lately I received a letter, in consequence of which I sent troops for the protection of Imna. This shows that there has been no negligence. I repeatedly dispatched resolute soldiers to their help when occasion demanded. And it was owing to this that the Imna people were able to carry on their agricultural operations in due season, and that Silla did not dare to molest them. Yet it was reported to your majesty that Baekje was so far distant that it was unable to help them in their need. And therefore, Ikuba no Omi and the others went to Silla and just obtained leave for them to plow and sow. This is deceiving the celestial court above and multiplying wicked intrigues. The deception is here plain enough. There must be many other cases, besides of lying in order to deceive the celestial court. So long as Ikuba no Omi resides in Ara, I fear, it will be impossible to establish the land of Imna. He ought speedily to be removed. This state of things is viewed by thy servant with profound apprehension. Cha-ro ma, too, although the son of a Korean mother, holds the position of Ohimuraji and takes precedence among the agents of Japan, entering the ranks of the noble and honorable. And yet he now wears the cap of the Silla official rank of Naminier, from which it may be readily seen that he is devoted to that country body and soul. When his conduct is maturely observed, there is no sign at all of awe or dread. Therefore, I formerly reported to your majesty his evil deeds, setting them out fully for your information. Now he still wears a foreign dress and daily goes to the Silla borders, journeying back and forward publicly or privately without any fear whatever. The downfall of the Turk country was owing to no other cause than this. Hamphai, Kanki of the Turk country, was false to the land of Kara and had a secret understanding with Silla, so that Kara fought from without. Hence its downfall. Now supposing that the Kanki, Hamphai, had been prevented from entering into a secret understanding with Silla, the Turk country, small as it is, would certainly not have come to ruin. In regard to Ch. Hak, Sion again, the case is the same. If the ruler of Ch. Hak, Sion, had been prevented from holding secret understandings with Silla and inviting aggression, would this state have come to destruction? When I consider one after another the disasters of the downfall of these various provinces, all are owing to men with secret understandings and double hearts. Now Mato and the others are on terms of great intimacy with Silla. They have at last put on their dress and frequent Silla morning and evening, secretly preparing treason. I fear, therefore, that Imna will, on this account, come to permanent ruin. If Imna is ruined, thy servant country stands alone and exposed to danger. And though I am desirous of continuing my allegiance, how will this be possible? It is my humble prayer that your majesty, in the exercise of your profound reflection and distant foresight, will promptly remove them to their former place and thus give peace to Imna. Winter, 10th month. The Baekje envoys, the Nassau, Mun, the Nassau, and the rest took their departure. The Baekje original record has winter 10th month. The Nassau, Mun, and the Nassau, returned from Japan. They said there was no imperial reply in respect to the matter of Kahachi, Noatoth, Yanasa, and Mato, which they had represented to the emperor. 11th month. Baekje sent messengers to summon the Omi of the Japanese residency and the agents of Imna, saying, the Nassau Mun, the Nassau of Kos, and Kapi, the Mononobe Nassau, whom I sent on a mission to the emperor court, have returned from Japan. Accordingly, Kimmei no Omi, the chief Japanese authority, the lower Kanki of Ara, the Tipu, Sunku Chai, Unai, the Siangsiu Y of Kara, named Ko Chiron Haye, the lord of Sal Ma, the lord of Sa I Kai, the son of the lord of San Pan Haye, the Isiu Y of Tara, named Hul Kern Kai, the Kanki of Cha Tha, and the Kanki of Ku Chha proceeded to Baekje. Hereupon, King Seong, Myring of Baekje, notified to them the general purport of the emperor decree, saying, I sent the Nassau, Mamasa, the Nassau, Kwai Nyern, and the Nassau, Yang Ka Ta to the court of Japan, upon which the emperor gave command that Imna was to be speedily established. Moreover, Sumori no Mureji, by the emperor order, inquired what was to be done with Imna. I have therefore sent for you, and I beg of you each to give your advice as to the best further means of establishing Imna. Kimmei no Omi and the Kenki of Imna said, the establishment of the land of Imna rests simply with the great king. It is our desire and hope, in obedience to your majesty, to join in making a representation to the emperor and hearing his instructions. To this King Seong, Myern said, the land of Imna has, from of old time, bound itself to be to our Baekje as a son or younger brother. Now Inchimi, of the Japanese Miik, has already smitten Silla, and is now preparing to send an expedition against me. This, again, is a result of his fondness for listening to Silla empty boasts and vaunting language. Now the object of sending Inchimi to Imna was never that it should be invaded and destroyed. From old time until now Silla has been without principle, eating its words and breaking its faith. In this way it has brought our faithful ally, the land of Chak, Sion, to ruin. I hope to have the satisfaction of making it repent it, and I have therefore sent for you. Let us all take to heart the Emperor's gracious message. It is my hope and desire that the land of Imna may thus be set up and continued as in former days, and that we may long be brethren. I have been informed that on the frontier between the two countries of Silla and Ara, there is a great river, which makes it easily defensible. I intend to take advantage of this to construct 6 fortresses along it, and humbly to petition the emperor for 3,000 troops, 500 for each fortress. Adding to these my own soldiers, we shall make it impossible to cultivate the rice fields. By harassing them in this way, it is to be hoped that the 5 fortresses of Mount Kanye will fling down their arms and surrender of their own accord, while the land of Chak, Sion, will be restored again. For the troops which I shall request of the emperor, I will provide clothing and food. This is the first part of the plan, which I wish to submit to the emperor. Moreover, in respect to the stationing of prefects and governors of castles in South Kara, is it that I wish to oppose the emperor and cut off the channel of paying tribute. I only hope to render effective aid against manifold disaster and to overthrow a powerful enemy. But who is there who does not contrive to attach himself to these bands of violent men? The northern enemy is great and strong, and my country is small and weak. If I did not station in South Kara prefects and governors of castles for its government and protection, it could not be defended against such a powerful foe, and it would also be impossible therewith to restrain Silla. I therefore propose to retain them in their stations for the harassment of Silla and the preservation of Imna. If this be not done, I fear that I shall come to ruin and be unable to render allegiance to the emperor. This is the second part of the scheme, which I wish to submit to the emperor. Moreover, the emperor may decree the establishment of Imna, but so long as Kimmei no Omi, Kahachi no Ataf, Yanasa, and Mato continue to reside in Imna, he will be unable to do so. I shall therefore request that these 4 men be each sent back to their respective homes. This is the third part of the plan, which I wish to submit to the emperor. Let us all together, you the Omi of the Japanese Miik, you the Kenki of Imna, and myself, dispatch envoys with a joint message to His Majesty, praying to hear his gracious instructions. Hereupon Kimmei no Omi and the Kenki said, the triple scheme propounded by the great king is entirely in accordance with our humble sentiments. We pray that we may be allowed to return and respectfully advise with the Oho, Omi of the Japanese administration, the king of Ara, the king of Kara, as to their all sending envoys with a joint message to the emperor. This is truly an occasion, such as only comes once in 1,000 years. Ought it not to be profoundly considered and maturely planned? 12th month. The following report was received from the province of Koshi. At Cape Minabe, on the northern side of the island of Sato, there arrived men of Su Shen in a boat and stayed there. During the spring and summer they caught fish, which they used for food. The men of that island said they were not human beings. They also called them devils and did not dare to go near them. The people of the village of Umu, on the east of the island, having gathered acorns, were preparing to cook them for eating, and having covered them over with ashes, were roasting them, when the shells turned into two men, which hovered over the fire at a distance of more than a foot. After a time, they fought together, to the great wonder of the villagers. They took them and placed them in the courtyard, when they flew as before, and went on fighting. A certain man divined from this, saying, "We shall assuredly be enchanted by devils." Not long after, as he had said, they were plundered by them. Thereupon the men of Shen removed to Sagaha Bay. The god of this bay is a dreadful god, and no one dares to approach him. Half of those who drink of that water when thirsty die, and their bones are piled up on the rocky steeps. The common people call this god Misihes no Kuma, AD 545. 6th year, spring, 3rd month. Hasuhi, Kashihade no Omi, was sent on a mission to Baekje. Summer, 5th month. Baekje sent the Nasal, Kai Noon, the Nasal, Yang Kata, and the Siddhark, Cha Chayu with a memorial to the emperor. Autumn, 9th month. Baekje sent Po She, Ho Turk of the Middle Division, and others to him now with a present of valuable products of Wu for the Omi of the Japanese government there, and for all the Kenki, each in proportion to his rank. This month Baekje made an image of Buddha 16 feet high and drew up a written prayer, saying, "I understand that it is extremely meritorious to make a Buddha 16 feet high. By the merit which I have now acquired in reverentially constructing one, I pray that the emperor may obtain exceeding virtue, and that all the land of the Miek belonging to the emperor may receive blessings. I also pray for the moral enfranchisement of all living creatures under heaven. Therefore I have made this image. Winter, 11th month." Hasuhi, Kashihade no Omi, returned from Baekje and said, "Thy servant, when sent on his mission, departed with all his family and arrived at the shore of Baekje. The sun went down, and we took lodging for the night. One of my children suddenly disappeared, and we could not tell where he had gone to. That night there was a great fall of snow, and we could not search for him until morning. Then we found the footprints of a tiger in a row one after another. Thy servant accordingly, having girded on his sword and put on his armor, went out in search. Coming to a cliff, he drew his sword and said, 'I, having respectfully taken charge of the silken threads and cords, with weary toil by land and sea, my hair combed by the wind, my bath the rain, with the grass for my mat and thorns for my carpet, came hither, all because I loved my child, and wished to make him succeed to his father office. Thou, O dread deity, hast parental love as one feature of thy character. Now tonight my child disappeared. Following up his traces, I sought for him as far as this place, and without fear of losing my life I intend to have my revenge. For this I have come.' Upon this, that tiger advanced before me and opened his mouth in order to devour me. But I, Hasuhi, swiftly stretched out my left hand and seized that tiger by the tongue, while with my right I stabbed it to death. Then I stripped off its skin and returned with it. This year Courier was greatly troubled by civil disturbances, and large numbers of people suffered execution. The Baekje original record says, 12th month, 20th day. The CA faction and the CHHU faction of the land of Courier fought at the king court with beat of drum. The CA party were beaten, but did not disband their troops. On the 3rd day, all the CA party children and grandchildren were taken and put to death. On the 24th, King Hyang Kang of the land of Koma died, AD 546. 7th year, spring, 1st month, 3rd day. The envoys from Baekje, Kwai Nyern, Nasal of the Middle Division, and his companions took their departure. They received a present of 70, 4 good horses and 10 ships. Summer, 6th month, 12th day. Baekje sent Nyang, Yerp Naye, Nassau of the Middle Division, and others to present tribute. Autumn, 7th month. A report was received from the district of Imaki in the province of Yamato, saying, in the spring of the 5th year, Miya, Kahara Tami no Ata, went up to an upper story to view the prospect. He saw a good horse, bred from the mares which carry the food for the emperor table, sent by the fishermen of the land of Ki. When it saw a shadow, it neighed loudly. It nimbly sprang over its mother back. He approached and bought it. He kept it for several years. When it grew up, its action was like that of the startled wild goose or the soaring dragon. It differed from the flock and excelled the crowd. It was obedient to control, and its paces were in due proportion. It leaped over the ravine at the hill of Ohachi, which is 18 rods in width. Miya Kahara Tami no Ata is a man of the village of Hinokuma. This year Courier was greatly disturbed. More than 2,000 people were killed in battle. The Baekje original record has Courier on the 3rd day of the 1st month established as king the son of the 2nd queen. He was 8 years of age. The king of Koma had 3 wives. The true queen had no children, and the heir to the throne was the son of the 2nd consort, whose father family was of the Chhu faction. The junior wife had also a child. Her father family was of the Ca faction. When the king of Koma took ill, the Ca faction and the Chhu faction each tried to set up the son of the respective consorts. The result was that of the Ca faction more than 2,000 men were slain. AD 547. 8th year, spring, 4th month. Baekje sent Chin Mo, Seern Mun, Turk soul of the former division, the Nassau, Kama, and others to ask for auxiliaries, and offered Wern, son of Tong Seung of the lower division, exchanging him for the Turk soul Mun, Hayu, Man Na. AD 548. 9th year, spring, 1st month, 3rd day. The Baekje ambassador, Chin Mo, Seern Mun, Turk, soul of the former division, and his colleagues asked leave to depart. Accordingly, an imperial command was given, saying, in regard to the auxiliaries asked for by you, help will be assuredly sent you. Hasten to carry back this answer to your king. Summer, 4th month, 3rd day. Baekje sent the Han, soul of the middle division, Nyang Yerp, Naye, and others with a message to the emperor, saying, the Turk soul, Seern Mun, and his colleagues have arrived at thy servant frontier state with an imperial message, informing me that the auxiliary force which I asked for would be sent when occasion demanded. I have humbly received this gracious pronouncement, and my joy is unbounded. Now, a prisoner taken in the expedition of the castle of Ma Chin has reported thus. It was on the invitation and at the instigation of the land of Ara and of the Japanese authorities that this expedition against Baekje was undertaken. Judging from the facts, this appears likely. I wished, however, to examine thoroughly this statement, and 3 times sent to summon them. But neither of them came, and I am therefore profoundly anxious. I humbly pray the august emperor first to consider this, and for the time being to delay the auxiliaries which I asked for until thy servant sends an answer. The emperor command was as follows. We have listened attentively to thy representation. When we consider what thou dost complain of, we, too, are vexed that the Japanese authorities and Ara should not have come to the assistance of a neighbor in his difficulty. But it is incredible that they should have gone so far as to send a secret message to Courier. If we had ordered it so, of course they would have sent one, but in the absence of any order from us, how could they find it possible to do so? I beg that the king, loosing his collar and slackening his girdle, will possess his soul in peace and avoid profound suspicions and fears. In accordance with our former instructions, let him join forces with Imna. and let them together each defend the territory which they hold in fee against the northern enemy. We are about to send a number of men to Rei, people the territory of Ara, left vacant by the fugitives. 6th month, 3rd day. An envoy was sent to Baekje with an imperial message, saying, "What is the news since the Turk's soul, Sirn, Mun took his departure? We are informed that thy country has suffered from the Coma brigands. It would be well earnestly to take measures in concert with Imna and defend yourselves as heretofore. Intercalary 7th month. 12th day. Nyang Yerp Nae, the Baekje envoy, and his colleagues took their departure. Winter 10th month. 370 men were sent to Baekje to assist in constructing a fortress at Turk, Sin. AD 549. 10th year, 6th month, 7th day. The Siang Tak, Mun, Kwai, and the Ko-Turk, Ma Chha, Mun asked permission to take their departure. Accordingly, the emperor commanded, saying, "We are about to send to inquire into the truth of the statement that Yanasa and Mato have been privately sending emissaries to Courier. The army asked for will be countermanded as requested. AD 550. 11th year, spring, 2nd month, 10th day. An envoy was sent with an imperial message to Baekje, saying, with regard to the purport of the memorial presented by the Siang Turk, Mun, Kwai, and the Ko-Turk, Ma Chha, Mun, we have given instructions on each point, so that it is as plain as looking at something on the palm of one hand. It is our desire that you should take them thoroughly to heart, and we hope, moreover, that you will give them your whole attention, so that after the envoy return all may be with you the same as usual. It is our present wish merely to make plain our answer, and therefore we send a messenger to you. Moreover, we are informed that you have a trusty minister, the Nasal, Ma Mu, who serves as a channel of communication between you and your people, and who, being a man after your majesty heart, acts as your assistant. If you wish that your state should be undisturbed, that it should permanently occupy the position of a Miek, and long continue to serve the emperor, all that is necessary is that Ma Mu be appointed your chief envoy to our court." The emperor made a further decree, saying, "We are informed that your enemies of the north commit outrages, and we therefore send you 30 sets of arrows, which we hope will serve for the defense of one place. Summer, 4th month, 1st day." The Japanese representative resident in Baekje being on the point of leaving, King Seong, Myung of Baekje, addressed him, saying, "As to the matter of Imna, it shall be vigorously defended in accordance with the imperial instructions. As to Yanasa and Mato, whether they are to be called to an account or not, I shall simply obey the imperial orders." He accordingly sent a present of 6 courier slaves for the emperor, and to his representative he gave a separate gift of 1 slave. 16th day. Baekje sent Phi, Ku, Kyun, Nasal of the Middle Division, and Chayak Kan Na, Seed Turk of the Lower Division, with a present for the emperor of 10 Coma captives. AD 551. 12th year, spring, 3rd month. The emperor gave the king of Baekje a present of 1,000 bushels of seed, wheat. This year, King Seong, Myung of Baekje, commanding an army in person, together with troops from the 2 countries, invaded Courier and conquered the territory of Hanseong. Thence he again moved forward his army and attacked Fyeong, Yang. 6 districts in all were eventually restored to their former territorial dependence. AD 552. 13th year, summer, 4th month. The imperial prince, Yada no Tama, Katsuno Ohoi, died. 5th month, 8th day. Baekje, Kara, and Ara sent the Turk, Soul of the Middle Division, Mok, Hyerp, Kium, Tun, and a Sapita of the Kahachi Bee, to make representation to the emperor, saying, "Courier and Silla, having established friendly relations and joined their powers, designed to overthrow thy servants' countries, together with Imna. Therefore we humbly request an auxiliary force, so that we may first attack them unawares. The number of the troops is left to the emperor decision. The emperor commanded, saying, "We have now heard all that the king of Baekje, the king of Ara, the king of Kara, and the Omi of the Japanese government have conjointly by their envoys represented to us with regard to the state of affairs. Let them continue, along with Imna, to unite their hearts and strength as heretofore, and they will be undoubtedly blessed with the protection of high heaven, and can, moreover, place their trust in the spirits of the august emperors." Winter, 10th month. King Seong, Myung of Baekje, sent Kwai C of the Western Division, and the Tal Sol, Nu, Rai Sa Chhi, with a present to the emperor of an image of Shakabatsu in gold and copper, several flags and umbrellas, and a number of volumes of sutras. Separately, he presented a memorial in which he lauded the merit of diffusing abroad religious worship, saying, "This doctrine is amongst all doctrines the most excellent." But it is hard to explain and hard to comprehend. Even the Duke of Chao and Confucius had not attained to a knowledge of it. This doctrine can create religious merit and retribution without measure and without bounds, and so lead on to a full appreciation of the highest wisdom. Imagine a man in possession of treasures to his heart content, so that he might satisfy all his wishes in proportion as he used them. Thus it is with the treasure of this wonderful doctrine. Every prayer is fulfilled, and naught is wanting. Moreover, from distant India, it has extended hither to the Three Han, where there are none who do not receive it with reverence as it is preached to them. Thy servant, therefore, Myung, king of Baekje, has humbly dispatched his retainer Nu, Rai Sa, Chhi, to transmit it to the imperial country, and to diffuse it abroad throughout the home provinces, so as to fulfill the recorded saying of Buddha, "My law shall spread to the east." This day the emperor, having heard to the end, leaped for joy and gave command to the envoys, saying, "Never from former days until now have we had the opportunity of listening to so wonderful a doctrine. We are unable, however, to decide of ourselves." Accordingly, he inquired of his ministers one after another, saying, "The countenance of this Buddha which has been presented by the western frontier state is of a severe dignity, such as we have never at all seen before. Ought it to be worshipped or not?" Soga no Oho Omi, Iname no Sukyun, addressed the emperor, saying, "All the western frontier lands without exception do it worship. Shall Akitsu Yamato alone refuse to do so?" Akoshi, Mononobe no Ohimuraji, and Kamako, Nakatomi no Muraji, addressed the emperor jointly, saying, "Those who have ruled the empire in this our state have always made it their care to worship in spring, summer, autumn, and winter the 180 gods of heaven and earth, and the gods of the land and of grain. If just at this time we were to worship in their stead foreign deities, it may be feared that we should incur the wrath of our national gods." The emperor said, "Let it be given to Iname no Sukyun, who has shown his willingness to take it, and as an experiment make him to worship it." The Oho, Omi knelt down and received it with joy. He enthroned it in his house at Oharita, where he diligently carried out the rites of retirement from the world, and on that score purified his house at Muku, Hara, and made it a temple. After this, a pestilence was rife in the land, from which the people died prematurely. As time went on, it became worse and worse, and there was no remedy. Akoshi, Mononobe no Ohimuraji, and Kamako, Nakatomi no Muraji, addressed the emperor jointly, saying, "It was because thy servant's advice on a former day was not approved that the people are dying thus of disease. If thou dost now retrace thy steps before matters have gone too far, joy will surely be the result. It will be well promptly to fling it away, and diligently to seek happiness in the future." The emperor said, "Let it be done as you advise." Accordingly, officials took the image of Buddha and abandoned it to the current of the canal of Naniha. They also set fire to the temple and burnt it so that nothing was left. Hereupon, there being in the heavens neither clouds nor wind, a sudden conflagration consumed the great hall. This year Baekje abandoned Han, Seong, and Firung, Yang. Silla took advantage of this to make an entrance and to settle in Han, Seong. These are the present Silla towns of Yu, tu pang and nai mi, pang. AD 553. 14th year, spring, 1st month, 12th day. Baekje sent Kwa ya Ch. Chayu, Turk soul of the higher division, the Ha soul Nye Si, Tun, and others to ask for troops. 15th day. The Baekje envoys, Mok Hyerp Kiam, Tun, Turk, soul of the middle division, and Kahachi B. Noah Sapita took their departure. Summer, 5th month, 7th day. The following report was received from the province of Kahachi. From within the sea at Chinu, in the district of Idzumi, there is heard a voice of Buddhist chants, which ray echoes like the sound of thunder, and a glory shines like the radiance of the sun. In his heart the emperor wondered at this, and sent Anate no Atah to go upon the sea and investigate the matter. This month Anate no Atah went upon the sea, and the result was that he discovered a log of camphor, wood shining brightly as it floated on the surface. At length he took it, and presented it to the emperor, who gave orders to an artist to make of it 2 images of Buddha. These are the radiant camphor, wood images now in the temple of Yashino. 6th month. Uche no Omi was sent on a mission to Baekje with a present of 2 good horses, 2 traveling barges, 50 bows, 50 sets of arrows, and an imperial message, saying, "As to the troops asked for by the king, his wishes shall be complied with." A separate imperial order was given, saying, "The men learned in medicine, in divination, and in the calendar have to take it in turn to come up and to go down." The year and month having just now come for the above classes of men to be relieved, let them be sent with the envoy on his return, so that they may be mutually exchanged. Let us also be furnished with books of divination, calendars, and drugs of various kinds. Autumn, 7th month, 4th day. The emperor visited the palace of Magari in Kusunoki. By order of the emperor, Soga no Oho, Omi, Iname no Sukyun, charged Omacron Shin Mi to keep an account of the shipping tax. He was accordingly made chief over the ships, and the style was granted him of Funa no Fumibito. He was the ancestor of the present Funa no Muraji. 8th month, 7th day. Baekje sent Kwaya, Nassau of the higher division, with a man of Silla named Mun, Hayu, San, co-Turk of the lower division, and others, who presented a memorial to the emperor, saying, "Last year thy servants jointly sent Uche no Omi, the Turk, Sol Cha Chayu with a high official of Imna, to report to your majesty on the various miik beyond the sea. I have humbly awaited your majesty gracious commands, as the herbs in spring look up for the refreshing showers. This year there is the unexpected news that Silla and Koma have made a common plan, saying, Baekje and Imna resort frequently to Japan, doubtless in order to ask for troops wherewith to invade our territories. If this be true, it will be the ruin of our country. We must be on the alert and watch. It may be hoped that we shall anticipate the Japanese troops and conquer Ara before they have started. We can then cut off their communications with Japan. Such is their plan." When thy servant heard this, he was profoundly alarmed, and straightway dispatched a swift messenger and a light, sailing vessel speedily with a memorial informing you of this. I would humbly implore of the celestial bounty that there may be speedily sent to our assistance in time for the autumn season, an army in 2 divisions, front and rear, one after the other, wherewith to make secure the miik beyond the sea. If they are later than this, our efforts will be as vain as the endearer to bite one navel. Thy servant will bear the expense of providing food and clothing for the troops which are sent, from the time of their arrival in his country. A similar arrangement would hold good on their arrival in Imna. But if their provisions are insufficient, thy servant will assuredly send supplies in aid and prevent there being any deficiency. A separate memorial said, Ikuba no Omi, having reverently received the imperial commands, came and comforted thy servant frontier state. Ever attentive morning and evening, he sedulously discharged his various functions. Therefore the frontier states beyond the sea all celebrated his goodness, and wished that he might live for 10,000 years to give peace to the lands beyond the sea. Unfortunately, he died, to our deep regret. And now, who is there to direct the affairs of Imna? I humbly beg of the celestial bounty that someone be sent to replace him and continue his service, so that Imna may have peace. Moreover, the lands beyond the sea are very scarce of bows and horses. From old times until now, they have received them from the emperor, and have therewith defended themselves against their powerful enemies. I humbly pray the celestial bounty to bestow on us a large supply of bows and horses. Winter, 10th month, 20th day. Ch Yang, son of the king of Baekje, led forth all the troops of the kingdom against the land of Courier. Having thrown up entrenchments on the Hap plain, he allowed his soldiers to sleep and eat. Looking out that evening over the great and fertile plain, with its level surface extending far and wide, where few traces of man were to be seen, and not a dog was heard to bark, he all at once heard a sudden sound of fife and drum. Ch Yang was greatly astonished, and having beat his drums in response, kept strict watch all that night. At early dawn, he got up and saw the broad plain covered everywhere with flags and banners, as a hill is covered with green foliage. When it became clear, a horseman appeared, wearing a gorget, 2 others carrying symbols, and 2 with leopards' tails stuck on them in all 5 horsemen. They advanced bit alongside of bit, and inquired, saying, "Some boys told us that in our plain strangers were staying. How could we avoid going out courteously to receive them? We now wish that you should speedily become acquainted with us, and therefore, according to etiquette, we would ask your name, age, and rank." Ch Yang answered and said, "My name is the same name, my rank is that of Han's soul, and my age is 29. Baekje, having in turn made inquiry, an answer was given after the same manner. Finally marks were set up, and they fought together. Thereupon Baekje, with his spear, thrust down from his horse the courier warrior, and having cut off his head, raised it aloft on the point of his spear, returned to camp, and showed it to the troops. The courier generals were very indignant, while the shouts of joy of the Baekje men were like to rend asunder heaven and earth. Next, some of the generals of auxiliary troops beat their drums, and engaging quickly in the fight, drove back the king of Courier to the top of Mount Tong, Seong. AD 554. 15th year, 1st month, 7th day. The imperial prince, Nanakura Fudo, Dama, Shiki no Mikoto, was raised to the position of Prince Imperial. 9th day. Baekje sent Mok, Hyerpmun, Cha, Seed Turk of the Middle Division, and Wal Cha Pun Ok, Seed Turk of the former division, to Tsukushi, to communicate with Uchi no Omi, Saheki no Mureji, and his colleagues. They said, "The Turk's soul, Cha Chayu, with the Han's soul, Tun, and the rest, arrived on the 4th day of the intercalary month of last year, and stated that the Omi and his colleagues would come in the 1st month of this year. But although they said so, it is still doubtful whether you are coming or not. Moreover, what of the number of the troops? We pray that you will inform us of their number, so that we may prepare cantonments in advance." In a separate communication, they said, "We have just heard that thou, by command of the august emperor, hast arrived in Tsukushi in charge of the troops bestowed on us by him." Nothing could compare with our joy when we heard this. The campaign of this year is a much more dangerous one than the last, and we beg that the force granted to us may not be allowed to be later than the 1st month. Hereupon Uchi no Omi answered in accordance with the commands of the emperor. Accordingly, there is being sent an auxiliary force to the number of 1,000 men, 100 horses, and 40 ships. 2nd month. Baekje sent General Sam, Kwai, Han's soul of the lower division, with Mononobe no O, Nassau of the senior division, to ask for auxiliaries. They took the opportunity of offering Mak, Ko, son of Tong Seong, in exchange for the Nassau Wern, son of Tong Seong, whose turn it had previously been, and Wang Yang, Kwai, a man learned in the 5 classics, in exchange for the code Turk Ma Taiyang, and in the Buddhist priest Tam, Haye, and 8 others in exchange for 2 Sim and 6 others. Separately, in obedience to the imperial commands, they brought the Sea Turk Wang Tunyang, a man learned in divination, the code Turk Wang Po Sun, a man learned in the calendar, the Nassau Wang Yu Nu, Tha, a physician, the Sea Turk Pern Nyang Feng, and the code Turk Pyern Yu Tha, herbalists, the Sea Turk Sam Kyun, the Kaye Turk Kwai Ma Ch Ha, the Kaye Turk Chin No, and the Tay Turk Chin Tha, musicians, all which persons were exchanged according to request. 3rd month, 1st day. The Baekje envoys Mok, Hyerp Mun, Ch Ha, Sea Turk of the Middle Division, and his colleagues took their departure. Summer, 5th month, 3rd day. Uchai no Omi proceeded to Baekje, in command of a naval force. Winter, 12th month. Baekje sent Mun, Sa Kan no, Han Soul of the Lower Division, who presented a memorial, saying, "Thy servants, Myurng, king of Baekje, the various Omi of Wa resident in Ara, and the Kanki of all the provinces of Imna, beg to report to your majesty the unprincipled conduct of Silla, who, having no dread of the emperor, has formed an alliance with Courier, and designs to destroy the Miak north of the sea. Thy servants, having consulted together, sent Uchai no Omi and others to ask for troops wherewith to make war on Silla. Accordingly, the emperor sent Uchai no Omi in command of a force, which arrived in the 6th month. Thy servants were profoundly rejoiced, and on the 9th day of the 12th month sent an expedition to attack Silla. Before this, thy servant had sent Mononobe no Mak, Ka Mu no Mureji, governor of the eastern quarter, in command of the troops of that quarter, to lay siege to the castle of Ham, San. The people brought over by Uchai no Omi, along with Mak, Ka Wai, Sa Kwai, Tsukushi no Mononobe, who were skilled in shooting fire arrows, under the protection of the august spirits of the emperors, set fire to the castle and took it at sunset on the 9th day of the month. Therefore I have sent a special envoy in a swift ship to make this report to your majesty." In a separate address he said, if it were Silla alone, the troops under the command of Uchai no Omi would be sufficient. But now Koma and Silla have joined their hearts and united their strength, so that success will be difficult. I humbly pray that all the troops of the island of Tsukushi may be at once sent to the assistance of thy servant country, and also to the assistance of Imna. In that case, we shall be successful. He further represented as follows: thy servant dispatched a separate force of 10 men to the assistance of Imna, and at the same time sent information of this to your majesty. Now matters are in a critical condition, and I report them by a fast sailing vessel. I beg moreover to present to your majesty 2 rolls of brocade of superior quality, one of woolen carpet, 300 axes, with 2 men and 5 women belonging to the captured castle, of such trifling value that I fear to look back on them. When Ch was considering his plan of campaign against Silla, an old man remonstrated with him, saying, "Heaven does not yet grant it. Disaster is to be feared." Ch said, "Old man, why be so timid? I serve a great country. How can there be any cause for apprehension?" So he eventually invaded the land of Silla and built the fortress of Kuta Mura. His father, King Myurng, was distressed that Ch should have so long to bear the sufferings of the campaign, deprived for lengthened intervals of sleep and food, his own parental affection feeling many a want, while his son filial care was reduced to scanty limits. Accordingly, he went out to join him and comfort him in his toil. Silla, hearing that King Myurng was coming in person, set on foot the whole armed force of the kingdom, intercepted him by the way, and crushed him. At this time Silla said to Kodo, a groom, slave of Sache Mura, "Thou Kodo art a vile slave. King Myurng is a famous prince. If now the mean slave were made to slay the famous prince, he might hope to transmit his name to posterity and not be forgotten in the mouths of men." 27th day. King Myurng looked up to heaven, sighed deeply, and with tears gave his consent, saying, "Whatever way I turn my thoughts, pain always enters my marrow. Nor on reflection is there any means by which there is a possibility of my life being saved." So he held forward his head and submitted to have it cut off. Kodo cut off his head and so killed him. He then dug a grave and buried him. One book says, Silla buried King Myung's skull, but the other bones were sent with due ceremony to Baekje. Now the king of Silla buried King Myung bones at the bottom of the stairs of the northern hall of his palace, and gave this hall the name of Tu Tang. Yer, Ch. Hyang, finding at last that he was surrounded, attempted to make his way through, but could not. His troops were taken with consternation, and knew not what to do. Now there was a skillful archer, a Miyako of the land of Tsukushi. He advanced, bent his bow, and taking aim, shot down one of the bravest of the Silla horsemen. The penetration of the arrow which he shot was such that it went through the bow of the saddle on which he rode, both before and behind, and reached the joining of the armor he had on. Then he went on shooting arrows one after another like rain, more and more fiercely, without any remission, and shot to the ground the troops by whom they were surrounded. By this means Yer, Ch. Hyang and his generals were enabled to escape back by a by-road. Yer, Ch. Hyang complimented the Kuni, no Miyako, on having shot down the troops who had encompassed them, and conferred on him the honorary name of Kurani, no Kimmei. Upon this, the Silla generals, satisfied that Baekje was completely worn out, wished at length to take measures for the destruction of the remainder. But there was one general who said, this would be a mistake. The Emperor of Japan has frequently attacked our country on account of Imna. Much more should we certainly invite upon ourselves future mischief if we should proceed to take steps for the destruction of the Miake of Baekje. This project was therefore dropped. A.D. 555. 16th year, spring, 2nd month. Yer Ch. Hyang, son of the king of Baekje, sent Prince Haye with a message to the emperor, saying, King Seung Myung has been slain by brigands. When the emperor heard this, he was indignant, and sent an envoy to meet him at the port with a message of condolence. Hereupon Kos no Omi inquired of Prince Haye, dost thou wish to remain here or to proceed to thine own country? Haye answered and said, trusting in the influence of the emperor, it is my hope to revenge myself on the enemies of the king my father. I pray him to bestow his compassion on me and grant me a numerous armed force so that I may wipe out my disgrace and repay my enemies. Whether I go or whether I remain, how should I dare to do otherwise than simply obey his commands? Presently Soga no Omi condoled with him, saying, King Seung had a wonderful mastery of the law of heaven and the principles of earth. His fame was spread abroad through the 4 quarters and the 8 points of the compass. We hoped that he would long maintain peace and rule over the frontier states west of the sea, and that for 1,000, nay for 10,000 years, he would render allegiance to our emperor. But to our surprise, in a morning, he passed upwards and was lost in the infinite. Like flowing water, he returns not again, but remains at rest in the dark dwelling. Oh, what a cruel grief, what a heartrending sorrow. Who is there possessed of feeling who does not lament his death? For what special fault, moreover, has this calamity come? But now what art shall be used to give tranquility to your country? Haye answered and said, Thy servant is by nature foolish, and knows not great counsels, much less the causes of good or ill fortune, or of the ruin or preservation of a state. The minister Soga said, Formerly, in the reign of the Emperor Oho, Hatsus, thy country was hard-pressed by courier, and was in an extremely critical position, like that of a pile of eggs. Thereupon, the emperor commanded the minister of the Shinto religion, reverently, to take counsel of the gods. Accordingly, the priests, by divine inspiration, answered and said, If after humble prayer to the deity, the founder of the land, thou goest to the assistance of the ruler who is threatened with destruction, there will surely be tranquility to the state and peace to the people. Prayer was therefore offered to the god, aid was rendered, and the peace of the country was consequently assured. Now the God who originally founded this country is the God who descended from heaven and established this state in the period when heaven and earth became separated, and when trees and herbs had speech. I have recently been informed that your country has ceased to worship him. But if you now repent your former errors, if you build a shrine to the God and perform sacrifice in honor of his divine spirit, your country will prosper. Thou must not forget this. Autumn, 7th month, 4th day. Iname no Sukyun Soga no Oho. Omi and Hatsumi no Aihyumi no Omi were dispatched to the 5 districts of Kimmei to establish the Miake of Shirawi. 8th month. Hyang of Baekje addressed his ministers, saying, I now desire, for the sake of the king, my deceased father, to leave the world and practice religion. The ministers and the people answered and said, We have now received the instructions intimating to us your majesty wished to be allowed to retire from the world and to practice religion. Ah, whose fault was it that firm plans were not made in the first place, of which neglect so great evils have been the consequence? From the foundation of this kingdom until the present year, Courier and Silla have vied with each other in their efforts to destroy it. To what country, therefore, could our national line of sovereigns now be entrusted? In principle, your majesty instructions ought unquestionably to be complied with. For if the words of the old man had been attended to, how should we have arrived at our present condition? We beseech your majesty, therefore, to repent your former errors. But do not take the trouble to retire from the world. If you wish to fulfill your vow, let a number of the people of the land be made to enter religion. Hyang answered and said, Be it so. Accordingly, he applied to his ministers for advice. They at length consulted together upon the matter and caused 100 persons to enter religion. AD 556. 17th year, spring, 1st month. Prince Haye of Baekje asked leave to return home. He was accordingly presented with a very large supply of weapons and good horses. Moreover, gifts were liberally bestowed, so that they uttered respectful exclamations. Hereupon Abe no Omi, Saheki no Mureji, and Harima no Atath were sent in command of a naval force of the land of Tsukushi to escort him to his country. The Lord of Hai in Tsukushi was sent separately in command of 1,000 valiant soldiers to escort him to Might, and he was accordingly made to guard the strong positions on the way to the port. Autumn, 7th month, 6th day. Soga no Oho, Omi, Iname no Sukyun and others were sent to the district of Kajima in hither Kimmei to establish a Miake, of which Midzuko, Katsuraki no Yamada no Atah, was made Tadzukahi. Winter, 10th month. Soga no Oho, Omi, Iname no Sukyun and others were sent to the district of Takechai in Yamato to establish the Miake of Ohimusa of Koreans and the Miake of Wamusa of Courier men. The Miake of Amma in the land of Kai was established in the land of Kai. AD 557. 18th year, spring, 3rd month, 1st day. Prince Hyang of Baekje succeeded to the throne. He was styled King Y Turk. AD 560. 21st year, autumn, 9th month. Silla sent the Namal Michequich with an offering of tribute. His entertainment was unusually liberal. The Namal was rejoiced thereat, and so took his departure. It was said, in the case of tribute envoys the state is all, important and private considerations are despised. On an ambassador depend the lives of the people, and it is a governmental abuse when a mean person is selected for this position. Such a course is quite unjustifiable. It is desired that sons of good families should be selected as ambassadors, and not persons of mean extraction. AD 561. 22nd year. Silla sent the cute pearl can, Kunae, jewel with an offering of tribute. He was entertained by the official charged with the reception of strangers on a lower scale of ceremony than usual. The cute pearl, Kan was enraged and took his departure. This year the Sa Nadir was sent again to present the former tribute at Oho, Kuni in Naniha. In arranging the precedents of the various frontier states, the entertainers, Nukadebe no Muraji and Katsuraki no Ata, made him take rank below Baekje and introduced him in this order. The Sa was angry. He went away and refused to enter the official residence. He went on board ship and returned to Anato. At this time, the official building at Anato was being repaired. The Sa inquired, "For what guest is this construction?" The chief builder, Ashikatsu, Kahachi no Mumakahi no Abaido, mockingly said, "It is for the lodging of the ambassador who is being sent to call the Western land to an account for its rude conduct." The Sa, on returning to his country, reported this speech, and therefore Silla built a fortress on Mount Arafasa as a defense against Japan. AD 562. 23rd year, spring, 1st month. Silla destroyed the Miake of Imna. One writing says, 21st year. Imna was destroyed. The general term Imna includes the provinces called separately Kara, Ara, Seiki, Tara, Koma, Kachai, Chatha, Sanpanha, Quisin, and Imnie, in all 10 provinces. Summer, 6th month. An edict was issued as follows. The Silla people, a tribe of wretches in the west, have, in defiance of heaven and devoid of right feeling, disregarded the favor we have shown them. They have broken our Miake, poisoned our black-haired people, and massacred the population of our districts. When our ancestor, Akinaga Tarashi Haim no Mikoto, a wonderful sage of clear intelligence, made a tour throughout the empire, showing her anxiety on behalf of all the people and nourishing her myriad subjects, she pitied the condition of Silla, which was then reduced to an extremity, and spared the head of its king, which was about to fall. She granted to Silla strong positions, and bestowed on it honors it was not entitled to. In what respect did our ancestor, Akinaga Tarashi Haim no Mikoto, show a want of consideration for Silla, or our people an unfriendly feeling towards that country? Yet Silla with long spears and strong bows has oppressed Imna. With serrated tusks and hooked talons, they have committed ravage amongst the living souls, rending their livers and hacking off their feet with insatiable delight, scorching their bones in the sun, and burning their dead bodies without saying to themselves that it was cruel. From the noble house down to the people of Imna, using all their knives and expending their last chopping block, they have butchered and made meat of them. Within the shores of the land, who is now left to be called a servant of the king? Who is there that eats grain, the food of man, or drinks water, his beverage, who can bear to hear these things without being grieved in his heart? Much more the heir to the throne and the Omi. For the former, bound as he is by hereditary friendship, it is an occasion to weep tears of blood and cherish feelings of revenge. In the case of the latter, there is towards officials charged with the frontier screen the gratitude due to those who rub themselves smooth from crown to heel. In this month, a certain person slandered Yuta, Yori, Mumakahi no Omi, saying, "Yuta, Yori wife met me at Sanuki. Her saddle, pad was different from ordinary ones. When I examined it closely, I saw that it was the Empress' saddle. He was accordingly handed over to the judicial authority, who put him to the most severe examination. Yuta Yori, Mumakahi no Omi, accordingly declared upon oath, saying, 'This is false and not true. If this is true, let calamity from heaven surely befall me.' At last he fell prostrate on the ground under the torture, and died. No long time after his death, there were sudden misfortunes in the palace. The judicial officer then arrested his sons, Morishi and Nasai, and when about to cast them into the fire, uttered a charm, saying, 'Not by my hand are they cast.' Having uttered this charm, he was about to fling them into the fire, when Morishi mother made a prayer, saying, "If my child is flung into the fire, a great calamity will indeed follow. I beseech thee, let him be given over to the half-yuri, to be a slave in the service of the gods." In accordance, therefore, with his mother's supplication, he was permitted to be confiscated to the service of the gods. Autumn, 7th month, 1st day. Scylla sent envoys to offer tribute. These envoys knew of the destruction of Imna by Scylla, but, ashamed of the offense against national gratitude, they did not dare to ask leave to depart. Eventually they remained, and did not return to their own land, but were made to take rank as subjects of the state. They were the ancestors of the Scylla men of the village of Uno in the district of Sarara, in the province of Kahachi. In this month, the general-in-chief, Kaino Wamero no Sukyun, was sent forth in command of an army by way of Tari, and the associate general, Nith, Kahib no Omi, by way of Mount Kur, Chung, to demand of Scylla its reasons for attacking Imna. At length they arrived at Imna. Tony, Komo Tsumbi no Abaido, was sent to Baekje to concert a plan of military operations. Tony accordingly lodged in his wife's house, and lost a letter and a bow and arrows by the way. Scylla thus gained a thorough knowledge of the military plans, and having promptly raised a large army, brought on itself overthrow, and rendered submission and allegiance. Kaino Wamero no Sukyun, having gained the victory, marched his army into the Baekje camp, where he addressed an order to the troops, saying, "It is the excellent advice of antiquity that in victory one should not forget defeat, that in safety it is necessary to bethink oneself of danger. On the frontier which we now hold, wolves meet in mutual intercourse. Such being the case, ought we to be heedless and not to think of disaster. Even in times of peace, the sword should not be laid aside. For a wise man, warlike preparation ought not to be relaxed. I pray you, be very watchful and zealously observe this command." The soldiery all entrusted their hearts to him and applied themselves to their duties. Nith, Kahib no Omi, advanced alone, and in successive engagements captured all that opposed him. The Scylla men again raised the white flag, flung down their arms, and bowed their heads in submission. Nith, Kahib no Omi, never having had any skill in military matters, raised the white flag in reply, as a simple intimation to advance alone. The Scylla commander said, "General Kahib no Omi now wishes to surrender," and advancing his troops made an onset. With all their pointed weapons, they hastened to the attack and routed the vanguard. The wounded were very numerous. Tahiko, Yamato no Kuni no Miyako, conscious that help was impossible, abandoned his troops and took to flight. The Scylla commander, his hooked spear in hand, pursued as far as the castle moat and flourishing his spear, struck at him. But Tahiko, inasmuch as he was mounted on a swift horse, leaped across the castle moat and narrowly escaped with his life. The Scylla commander stood on the edge of the moat and exclaimed, saying, "Kusunashari." Hereupon Kahib no Omi at length withdrew his forces, and retreating, hurriedly encamped on the plain. Upon this, his troops all held him in contempt, and there was none to yield him obedience. The commander advanced in person within the camp, and took them all prisoners, viz. Nith, Kahib no Omi, and his men as well as his wife who accompanied him. At this time, between father and child, husband and wife, there was no mutual commiseration. The commander inquired of Kahib no Omi, saying, "Which is more dear to thee, thine own life or that of thy wife?" He answered and said, "Why, for the love of one woman should I accept disaster? There is nothing dearer than life," and eventually granted her to be his concubine. The commander at length ravished her in a public place. She afterwards returned, and Kahib no Omi wished to approach her and talk to her. But she was deeply mortified and refused to consort with him, saying, Thou, my former lord, having for no good reason sold thy handmaid in person, with what countenance could I now live with thee? And she persisted in her refusal to speak to him. This lady was the daughter of Sakamoto no Omi, and her name was Mumashi Haim. Ikina Mitsugi no Kishi, who was captured at the same time, being a man of metal, utterly refused to submit. The Silla commander drew his sword and, making as if to kill him, compelled him with threats to take off his trousers, and then told him to present his hinder part towards Japan and call out with a loud voice, "Let the Japanese generals bite!" But he cried out, saying, "Let the king of Silla bite." No matter how much they tortured him, he went on shouting as before, and he was accordingly put to death. Moreover, his son Wajiko embraced his father, and so died. So hard it always was to shake Ikina determination to stick to his own language. Accordingly, he alone was lamented by all the generals. Moreover, his wife Ohabako was taken captive at the same time. In her grief she made a song, saying, "Standing by the fortress of the land of Kara, Ohabako waves her head scarf, turning towards Yamato." Someone composed a song in response, saying, "Standing by the fortress of the land of Kara, Ohabako is seen to wave her head scarf, turning towards Naniha." 8th month. The emperor sent Seidhiko, Ohatomo no Muraji as general, chief in command of an army of several tens of thousands of men to attack Koryor. Accordingly, Seidhiko, acting on plans laid by Baekje, routed Koryor. Their king climbed over a wall, and so made his escape. Seidhiko at length followed up his victory and entered the palace, where he took possession of and brought away with him all the valuables, presents, curtains of 7, fold woof, and an iron house. An old book says, the iron house was on the top of the western storied building of Koryor. The woven curtains were hung in the private chamber of the Koryor king. The curtains of 7, fold woof were offered as a present to the emperor, while to the Oho, Omi, Soga, Iname no Sukyun, there were sent 2 suits of armor, 2 swords mounted in gold, 3 copper bells with chasings, 2 flags variously colored, a beautiful woman called Haim, and also her attendant, Atako. Hereupon the Oho, Omi at length took to him these 2 women and made them his wives, lodging them in the palace of Karu no Magari. The iron house is in the temple of Chonji, but we do not know in what province this temple is. One book says, 11th year. Ohatomo no Seidhiko, along with the land of Baekje, repulsed Yang, Hyang, king of Koryor, at the capital city of Pai Chin Nayu. Winter, 11th month. Silla sent envoys to offer presents, and at the same time to bring tribute. The envoys found out all about the government being indignant against Silla on account of the destruction of Imna, and did not dare to ask leave to depart, fearing lest they might be executed. They did not return to their own country, and were made to rank as subjects. These men were the ancestors of the present Silla men of Hani, Iho in the district of Mishima, in the province of Setsu. AD 565. 26th year, summer 5th month. Some Koryor men, Tumyu, Raya, Faye, and others emigrated to Tsukashi. They were settled in the province of Yamashiro, and were the ancestors of the present Koryor men of Yun, Hara, Nara, and Yamamura. AD 567. 28th year. There were floods in the districts and provinces, with famine. In some cases, men ate each other. Mutual assistance was rendered by transporting grain from the neighboring districts. AD 569. 30th year, spring, 1st month, 1st day. An edict was issued as follows. The institution of serfs is a custom of old standing. But for more than 10 years past, there have been many whose names have been omitted from the lists, and who have avoided their tasks. Let Itsu be sent to revise the lists of the serfs of Shirawi. Summer, 4th month. Itsu revised the serfs of Shirawi, and in accordance with the edict, settled the lists, so that land, families were formed. The emperor, by way of compliment to Itsu on his success in settling the lists, gave him the title of Shirawi no Abaido, and moreover appointed him Tadzukahi under Midzuko. AD 570. 31st year, spring, 3rd month, 1st day. Iname no Sukyun, Soga no Oho, Omi died. Summer, 4th month, 2nd day. The emperor made a progress to the palace of Shibagaki in Hatsus. Mashiro Yanuno no Omi, a man of Koshi, came to the capital and addressed the emperor, saying, "Envoys from Courier, suffering by reason of the winds and waves, lost their way, and missing their harbor, drifted at the mercy of the current until they suddenly reached the shore. This was concealed by the ruler of the district. Therefore I make it known to your majesty." The emperor made an order, saying, "This is the first time since our taking over the imperial functions, now many years ago, that men of Courier, losing their way, have reached the coast of Koshi. Though suffering from being cast away and submerged, yet their lives have been preserved. Is not this an instance of the wide extension of wise counsels, of perfect virtue majestically displayed, of benign influences universally pervasive, of vast blessings far diffused? Let the proper functionaries erect a hall in the district of Sagaraka in the province of Yamashiro. Let them cleanse it and render cordial entertainment and help. In this month, the imperial carriage arrived back from the palace of Shibagaki in Hatsus, and Arako, Atah of the house of Eastern Aya, and Naniha, Katsuraki no Atoth, were sent to meet and bring in the courier envoys. 5th month. Katabiko, Kashihade no Omi, was sent to Koshi to entertain the courier envoys. The chief envoy, knowing perfectly well that Kashihade no Omi had been sent by the emperor, addressed Michai no Ushi, the ruler of the district of Koshi, saying, "After all, as I suspected, thou art not the emperor. Thou hast prostrated thyself in doing obeisance to Kashihade no Omi, which is abundant evidence that thou art a subject. And yet before, deceiving me, thou didst take the tribute and appropriate it. Let it be promptly given back, and waste no words in palliation of thy conduct." Kashihade no Omi, learning this, sent men to require from him the tribute, which was all given up, and on returning to the capital reported on his mission. Autumn, 7th month, 1st day. The courier envoys arrived at Afumi. This month Saru, Kos no Omi, and Kishi no Akabato were dispatched from the port of Naniha, towing a barge to Mount Sasanami, where they decorated a boat and went to meet them at Mount Kita in Afumi. Finally, they brought them into the official residence at Kamahi in Yamashiro. Accordingly, Kamero, Yamato no Ayanosaka no Yu no Atoth, and Ohoshi, Nishikori no Abaido were sent to escort them. The courier envoys were again entertained in the official residence of Sagaraka. AD 571. 32nd year, spring, 3rd month, 5th day. Sakata, Mimiko no Aratsumi, was sent on a mission to Silla to demand an explanation of the reasons for the destruction of Imna. In this month, couriers sent presents and likewise a memorial, but several tens of days elapsed without their having an opportunity of presenting it. They were compelled to await a lucky day. Summer, 4th month, 15th day. The emperor took to his bed, sick and ill at ease. The Prince Imperial had gone away and was not present, but was summoned by a messenger on a swift horse and introduced into the bed chamber. The emperor took him by the hand and gave command to him, saying, "Our illness is very grave. That which comes after devolves on thee. Thou must make war on Silla and establish Imna as a feudal dependency, renewing a relationship like that of a husband and wife, just as it was in former days. If this be done, in my grave I shall rest contented." On this day, the emperor at length died in the inner chamber. His years were many. 5th month. He was temporarily interred Furuichi in Kahachi. Autumn, 8th month, 1st day. Silla sent as envoys of condolence me, Chul, Cha, Sil, Seo, and others to make lament at the place of temporary interment. This month me, Chul, Cha, Sil, Seo, and the rest took their departure. 9th month. The emperor was buried in the Misasagi of Sakahi at Hinokuma. B. Nihongi, The Chronicles of Japan, Chapter 20. The Emperor Nunekiware, Futotama Shiki. The Emperor Nunakura Fudo, Tama Shiki was the second child of the Emperor Aim Kuni, Oshi, Hiraki, Hiro, Niha. His mother was called the Empress Consort, Ihanoheim. The emperor was not a believer in Buddhism, but was fond of literature. At the age of 29, he was raised to the position of Prince Imperial. In the 4th month of the 32nd year of his reign, the Emperor Aim Kuni, Oshi, Hiraki, Hiro, Niha died. AD 572. First year, summer, 4th month, 3rd day. The Prince Imperial assumed the imperial dignity. The Empress was honored with the title of Grand Empress. In this month, the Emperor made his palace at Oho, Y in Kudara. Mononobe no Yuj no Moria no Ohimureji was continued in his office of Ohimureji, and Soga no Mumako no Sukyun was made Oho, Omi. 5th month, 1st day. The emperor inquired of the imperial prince and the Oho, Omi, saying, "Where are the courier envoys now?" The Oho, Omi answered his majesty, saying, "They are in the official residence of Sagaraka." The emperor, hearing this, was exceedingly vexed, and flushing up, exclaimed, saying, "How sorry I am." The names of these envoys were already announced to the emperor, my deceased father. So he dispatched the ministers to the official residence of Sagaraka to inspect and take note of the tribute offered by them, and to cause them to be sent on to the capital. 15th day. The emperor took the courier memorial, and passing it on to the Oho, Omi, assembled all the scribes and directed them to read and explain it. At this time, all the scribes for the space of 3 days were unable to read it. Now there was one Omacron Chin, Nai, founder of the family of the Funa no Fubido, who was able to read it and explain its meaning to the emperor. Consequently, the emperor and the Oho Omi, both together, complimented him, saying, "What diligence, Chin Nai! Well done, Chin Nai! If thou hadst not been fond of learning, who could have done the interpretation? From this time forward, let thy attendance be near us in the palace." After this, an edict was issued to the scribes of East and West, saying, "How is it that the art which ye practice has come to naught? Though ye are many, none of you is equal to Chin Nai," nor was this all. The memorial presented by courier was written on crow feathers, and the characters, like the feathers, being black, nobody had been able to read them. Chin Nai accordingly steamed the feathers in the vapor from boiled rice, and took an impression of them on a piece of silk, whereupon all the characters were transferred to it, to the wonder of the court. 6th month. The chief courier envoy addressed the associate envoys, saying, "In the time of the emperor of Shikishima, ye, contrary to my advice, allowed yourselves to be deceived by others. You unauthorizedly shared the national tribute, and without due consideration granted it to mean persons. Were you not to blame in this? If the king of our country were to hear of it, he would certainly have you executed." The associate envoys then said to one another, "If on our return to our country the chief envoy reveals our misconduct, it will be unfortunate for us. It is desirable to slay him secretly, and so stop his mouth." The same night their conspiracy leaked out and became known to the chief envoy. He put on his clothes, and stealing out alone, stood in the inner court of the official residence. He was there not knowing what to do, when one of the ruffians came forward with a club and struck the chief envoy on the head, and then went away. Next there came another ruffian, who, facing right opposite to the chief envoy, struck him on the head and hands and then went away. The chief envoy remained silent and stood his ground, wiping the blood from his face. Again there came another ruffian, who rushed forward with a sword, and having stabbed the chief envoy in the belly, went away. This time, the chief envoy prostrated himself on the ground in fear, and in an attitude of supplication. Afterwards there came another ruffian, who killed him and went away. The next morning, the official entertainer Kimmei, Yamato no Aya no Saka no Yu no Ata, and the others inquired the cause of this. The associate envoys got up a false story and said, the emperor presented a wife to the chief envoy. The chief envoy was disobedient to the imperial command and refused to accept her. This was a piece of extreme insolence, and your servants therefore slew him on the emperor's behalf. The officials buried him with due ceremony. Autumn, 7th month. The courier envoys took their departure. This year was the year Midzanoi Tatsu of the cycle. AD 573. Second year, summer, 5th month, 2nd day. Courier envoys anchored on the coast of the Sea of Koshi. Their ship was wrecked, and a great many were drowned. The suspicions of the court were excited by their so frequently losing their way, and they were dismissed without entertainment. Accordingly, Naniha, Kibai no Amabe no Atath, was sent by the emperor orders to escort home the courier envoys. Autumn, 7th month, 1st day. Naniha and the courier envoys met in consultation on the coast of the Sea of Koshi. Ihahi Ohashima no Abaido and Masa, Sayaka no Abaido, seamen of Naniha, the escort envoy, were made to go on board the courier envoy's ship, while 2 courier men were made to embark in the escort envoy's ship. Having in this manner exchanged ships, as a precaution against treachery, they both set sail together. They had only gone a few rai, when the escort envoy, Naniha, fearing the waves, took the 2 courier men and flung them into the sea. 8th month, 14th day. The escort envoy, Naniha, returned and reported the result of his mission, saying, the whale, fish of the sea assemble in great numbers and intercept and devour the ships with their skulls and oars. Naniha and his companions, fearing to be swallowed up by these fishes, were unable to go upon the sea. The emperor, hearing this, saw that his language was untruthful and employed him in one of the public offices, not allowing him to return to his own province. AD 574. 3rd year, summer, 5th month, 5th day. The courier envoys anchored on the sea, coast of Koshi. Autumn, 7th month, 20th day. The courier envoys entered the capital and addressed the emperor, saying, last year thy servants departed, in company with the escort envoy, in order to return to their own country. Formerly, when thy servants arrived at their frontier state, thy servants' frontier state entertained Ihahi, Ohashima no Abaido, and his companions in accordance with the ceremony due to envoys, and the king of courier treated them with specially cordial civility. Notwithstanding this, the ship of the escort envoy had not arrived up till now, and therefore he has respectfully again sent envoys along with Ihahi and his companions to request information as to why our envoys have not come. When the emperor heard this, he enumerated Naniha offenses, saying, thou art doubly guilty, first for having deceived the court, and secondly, for having drowned the envoys of a neighboring state. These are heinous crimes, and thou canst not be released. He was therefore sentenced to punishment. Winter, 10th month, 9th day. The Oho Omi, Soga no Mumako, was sent to the province of Kimmei to extend the Shirawi Miake and the staff of serfs attached to it. He accordingly took the register of serfs and handed it over to Itsu, Shirawi no Fubido. 11th day. By an imperial order, the title of Tsu no Fubido was granted to Ushi, younger brother of Omacron Chin, Hai Funa no Fubido. 11th month. Silla sent envoys to offer tribute. AD 575. 4th year, spring, 1st month, 9th day. Hirohime, daughter of Prince Maid of Okinaga, was raised to the rank of Empress Consort. She had 1 son and 2 daughters. The eldest was called the Imperial Prince Ashizaka Hikohito, no Ohain. The second was called the Imperial Princess Sakanabori. The third was called the Imperial Princess Uji no Shitsukahi. In this month a consort was appointed named Wamunagimi no Atoshi, the daughter of Nakatsu Kimmei, Kasuga no Omi. She bore 3 sons and 1 daughter. The first was called the Imperial Prince Naniha, the second was called the Imperial Prince Kasuga, the third was called the Imperial Princess Kiwada, the fourth was called the Imperial Prince Ohamada. The next, an Unime named Anako no Atoshi, daughter of Wokuma, Ise no Ohoka no Abaido, gave birth to the Imperial Princess Fudo Haim and the Imperial Princess Nukade Haim. 2nd month, 7th day. The Oho, Omi, Mumako no Sukyun, returned to the capital and reported the result of his mission respecting the Miike. 3rd month, 11th day. Baekje sent envoys to offer tribute, more in quantity than in ordinary years. The emperor, inasmuch as Silla had not yet established Imna, gave orders to the imperial prince and to the Oho, Omi, saying, "Be not remiss in the matter of Imna." Summer, 4th month, 6th day. The Kishi, Kanako, was sent on a mission to Silla, the Kishi, Idahiko, to Imna, and the Kishi, Wosa Hiko, to Baekje. 6th month. Silla sent envoys to offer tribute, more in quantity than usual. They also sent tribute for the 4 townships of Ta Ra, Su Na Ra, Hwa Tha, and Pal, Kwai. In this year, by command, the diviners divined a site for the dwellings of Prince Amabe and Prince Itowi. The divination was propitious, and eventually a palace was constructed at Wasada, which was called the Palace of Sakadama. Winter, 11th month. The Empress Consort Hirohime died. AD 576. 5th year, spring, 3rd month, 10th day. The functionaries petitioned that an empress consort should be appointed. By the emperor command, Toyamike Kashikiya, Haim no Mikoto, was appointed empress consort. She bore 2 sons and 5 daughters. The first was called the Imperial Princess Uji no Kihitako. She was wedded to Shotoku, the heir to the throne. The second was called the Imperial Prince Taikta. The third was called the Imperial Princess Woharida. She was wedded to the Imperial Prince Hiko, Hito no Ohain. The fourth was called the Imperial Princess Yumari. The fifth was called the Imperial Prince Wohari. The sixth was called the Imperial Princess Tame. She was wedded to the Emperor Akinaga Tarashi, Haihiro, Nuka. The 7th was called the Imperial Princess Sakurawi, no Yumabari. AD 577. 6th year, spring, 2nd month, 1st day. By imperial command, there were established a sun, worship bee, and a private bee. Summer, 5th month, 5th day. Prince Ohoake and Waguro no Kishi were sent to govern the land of Baekje. The representatives of the crown, who by imperial command were sent on service to the 3 Han, called themselves Chinese letter, meaning that they governed Korea. This was doubtless an ancient rule. They resembled what are now called envoys. This explanation applies to all other passages also. It is not clear what was the extraction of Prince Ohoake. Winter, 11th month, 1st day. The king of the land of Baekje presented to the emperor, through the returning envoys Prince Ohoake and his companions, a number of volumes of religious books, with an ascetic, a meditative monk, a nun, a reciter of mantras, a maker of Buddhist images, and a temple architect, 6 persons in all. Eventually, there was founded the temple of Prince Ohoake of Naniha. AD 578. 7th year, spring, 3rd month, 5th day. The imperial princess Uji was made to attend on the shrine of Issei, but an intrigue which she had with the imperial prince Aiknobe having come to light, this appointment was cancelled. AD 579. 8th year, winter, 10th month. Silla sent Kai, Chul, Churng Nami to bring tribute. At the same time, he sent a Buddhist image. AD 580. 9th year, summer, 6th month. Silla sent Otto Nami and Chil, Seo Nami to offer tribute, but they were dismissed without its being received. AD 581. 10th year, spring, intercalary, 2nd month. Several thousand Yamishi showed hostility on the frontier. Accordingly, their chiefs Ayakasu and others were sent for, and the emperor gave them his commands, saying, "You Yamishi." In the reign of the emperor Oho, Terashi, Hiko, those of you whom it was meet to kill were put to death, and those who deserved forgiveness were pardoned. We now, in observance of this precedent, intend to put to death the ring leaders. Hereupon Ayakasu and the others were filled with fear and awe. They went down into the middle stream of the Hatsus River, and with their faces turned towards Mount Mamaro rinsed their mouths and made oath, saying, "We Yamishi promise that from this time forward, we, our children, and our children's children will serve the celestial gate with sincerity of heart. If we break this oath, may all the gods of heaven and earth, and also the spirits of the emperors, destroy our race." AD 582. 11th year, winter, 10th month. Silla sent Otto Nami and Seo Nami to render tribute. They were dismissed, their tribute not being accepted. AD 583. 12th year, autumn, 7th month, 1st day. The emperor made an order, saying, "In the reign of the late emperor, my father, Silla destroyed our Intermediate state. In the 23rd year of the emperor Aim, Kuni Oshi, Hiraki Hiro, Niha, Imna was destroyed by Silla. Therefore, it is said that Silla destroyed our Intermediate state. Our father, the late emperor, devised measures for restoring Imna, but he died without carrying them out and did not fulfill his purpose. It therefore devolves on us to render assistance to his divinely admirable policy and to restore Imna again. The tall soul, Ilah, son of the Arasatyung, Miyako of the province of Ashijita in Hai, now resident in Baekje, is a wise and brave man. Therefore we wish to consult with him." Accordingly, he sent Ashikatsu, Kaino Kuni no Miyako, and Hashima, Kibai no Amabe no Atah, to summon him from Baekje. Winter, 10th month. Ashikatsu, Kaino Kuni no Miyako, and his colleague returned from Baekje and reported the result of their mission to the court, saying, "The king of the land of Baekje grudged Ilya and would not consent to allow him to come up. This year, Hashima, Kibai no Amabe no Atah, was again sent to summon Ilah from Baekje. Hashima, having gone to Baekje, wished first of all to see Ilah privately. He was standing all by himself facing the door of his house, when there suddenly came from within the house a Korean woman who addressed him in the Korean language, saying, "Radix tua init in meme radisum," and then went away into the house. Hashima perceived her meaning and followed in after her. Upon this, Ilah came to meet him, and taking him by the hand, made him take his place on a seat. He then secretly informed him, saying, "I have received private information that the king of the land of Baekje is suspicious of the celestial court, fearing that if I were sent, I might afterwards be detained and not allowed to return. He is therefore reluctant and will not consent to offer me. It would be well, when the imperial commands are delivered, to make a show of severity and to insist peremptorily on summoning me." Hashima accordingly followed this plan and required Ilah from the king of the land of Baekje. He stood in awe of the celestial court, and not daring to disobey the imperial message, sent Allah to the emperor. The Yun, Sol, Turk Nai, Yur No, and Kanachi, the associate official the Turk, Sol, Ch Kan Turk, with a good number of steersmen and sailors, together with Allah and his companions, arrived at the Miake of Kajima in Kimmei. The court sent Ohatomo no Nukadiko no Muraji to express sympathy for their fatigues. Afterwards, Debu were sent to the official residence at Naniha to wait upon Allah. At this time, Allah, clad in armor and riding on horseback, came up to the gate. Then advancing in front of the hall of audience, he did his obeisances when advancing and retiring in a kneeling posture, and sighing bitterly, said, "In the reign of the emperor who ruled the world from the palace of Hinokuma, my lord Ohatomo no Kanamura no Ohamuraji sent Arasatyung, Hai no Ashijita no Miyako, and Ujehi of the Osaka beyond the sea, on the service of the state. Thy servant, the son of the Arasatyung, the Talsul Ilah, having heard the imperial summons, with fear and awe presents himself at thy court." He accordingly took off his armor and delivered it to the emperor. An official lodging was built for him at Kyuha no Ikai in Ado, where he was made to dwell, and provided with everything which he desired. Afterwards, Abes no Mi no Omi, Mononobe no Nihiko no Muraji, and Ohatomo no Nukadiko no Muraji were sent to inquire of Allah respecting the government of the country. Allah answered and said, "The emperor's aim in governing the empire is to ensure the protection and nourishment of the people. Why should he hastily stir up warfare, which will redound to their destruction? Therefore, now having made all from his counselors, viz., the Omi, Muraji, and Miyako of both kinds, whose duty it is to serve the court, down to the people, without exception to enjoy prosperity, let him cause them to want for nothing. When this has been continued for 3 years, when food has been made abundant, and arms plentiful, the people being dealt with by means of gladness, will fear neither water nor fire, and will join with the emperor in commiserating the troubles of the country. Thereafter let ships be built in numbers and stationed in order at all the ports, so that visitors from abroad may view them and be filled with dread. There should then be sent a capable envoy to Baekje to summon the king of that country. If he does not come, let his prime minister or a prince be summoned to appear. Their hearts will in that case naturally be filled with submissive reverence, and they ought then to be called to an account for their misconduct." Moreover, he addressed the emperor, saying, "The people of Baekje talk of a plan according to which it is intended to request Tsukushi for 300 ships. If they really make this request, I advise your majesty to pretend to grant it. Baekje will then wish to create a new country, and will certainly put the women and children on ship, board, and come with them in advance. The government, when this time is at hand, should place in ambush in Iki and Tsushima plenty of troops, and awaiting their arrival, slay them." Hereupon one of the Yun, Sol, and the associate, on the eve of their departure for their own country, held secret communication with Turk, Nai, and others, saying, "If you, having allowed sufficient time for us to get past Tsukushi, will secretly kill Allah, we will report the matter fully to the king, who will confer on you high official rank, so that you and your families will leave prosperity to your descendants." Turk, Nai, and Yur No both agreed. The associate official and the others at length started on their journey to Chika. Hereupon Allah removed from the village of Kyuha, Ikai, to the official residence of Naniha. Turk, Nai, and his colleague conspired together day and night how they were to slay him. Now Allah's body was radiant like a flame of fire, and therefore Turk, Nai, and the others were afraid and did not kill him. At length, during the interlune of the 12th month, they awaited his loss of radiance and slew him. But Allah came to life again and said, "This is the doing of our slaves and not of Silla." Having thus spoken, he died. The emperor gave command to Nihiko no Ohamuraji and Nukadiko no Muraji, and had him buried in front of the hill of the western boundary of Wagohori. His wife, children, and sailors were made to live at Ishikaha. Hereupon Ohitomo no Nukadiko no Muraji counseled, saying, "If they are made to live all together at one place, I fear it may give rise to trouble." Accordingly, the wife and children were made to dwell at Kudara, Mura in Ishikaha, and the sailors at Ohitomo no Mura in Ishikaha. Turk, Nai, and the other were arrested and kept at Ada, Mura in Lower Kudara, where a number of Debu were sent to investigate the matter. Turk, Nai, and the other confessed their guilt, saying, "Indeed it was the Yun, soul, and the associate who by their instructions made us do this. We, being underlings, did not dare to refuse." They were accordingly cast into prison, and the Debu reported the result of their mission to the court. A messenger was sent to Ashijita to summon all Ila household, and Turk, Nai, and the other were delivered to them to fix their punishment at their discretion. Then the Kimmei of Ashijita took them, and having slain them all, cast away their bodies on the island of Maimjima. Ila was removed for interment at Ashijita. Later, the coast people reported that the Yun Soul ship had met with a storm and foundered, and that the associate ship had not been able to return until it had first drifted to Tsushima. AD 584. 13th year, spring, 2nd month, 8th day. Kidahiko, Naniha no Kishi, was sent to Silla. He at length arrived at Imna. Autumn, 9th month. Kafyuka no Omi, who had come from Baekje, had a stone image of Miroku, and Saheki no Muraji an image of Buddha. This year Soga no Mumako no Sukyun, having asked for these two Buddhist images, sent Shibatado, Kurabe no Sukyuri, and Hida, Aiknob no Ata, in all directions to search out persons who practiced. Upon this, he only found in the province of Harima a man named Haye, Firen of Courier, who from a Buddhist priest had become a layman again. So the Oho, Omi made him teacher, and caused him to receive Shima, the daughter of Shibatado, into religion. She took the name of Nunzen Shin. Moreover, he received into religion two pupils of the Nunzen Shin. One was Toyom, the daughter of Iabito no Yaho. She took the name of Nunsen Zo. The other was Ishaim, daughter of Nishikori Tsubu. She took the name of Nunkei Zen. Mumako no Sukyun, still in accordance with the law of Buddha, reverenced the three nuns and gave them to Hida no Atat and Tado, with orders to provide them with food and clothing. He erected a Buddhist temple on the east side of his dwelling, in which he enshrined the stone image of Miroku. He insisted on the three nuns holding a general meeting to partake of mager fare. At this time, Tado found a Buddhist relic on the food of abstinence and presented it to Mumako no Sukyun. Mumako no Sukyun, by way of experiment, took the relic and placing it on the middle of a block of iron, beat it with an iron sledge, hammer, which he flourished aloft. The block and the sledge, hammer were shattered to atoms, but the relic could not be crushed. Then the relic was cast into water, when it floated on the water or sank as one desired. In consequence of this, Mumako no Sukyun, Aiknob no Hida, and Shibatado held faith in Buddhism and practiced it unremittingly. Mumako no Sukyun built another Buddhist temple at his house in Ishikaha. From this arose the beginning of Buddhism. AD 585. 14th year, spring, 2nd month, 15th day. Soga no Oho, Omi, Mumako no Sukyun, erected a pagoda north of the hill of Ohono, and having held a general meeting to partake of mager food, deposited the relic obtained by Tato on the top of the pillar. 24th day. Soga no Oho, Omi took ill. Having made inquiry of a diviner, the diviner answered and said, "It is a curse sent by will of the Buddha worshipped in thy father time." Soga no Oho, Omi accordingly sent a young man of his family to report to the emperor the nature of the divination. The emperor gave orders, saying, "In accordance with the words of the diviner, let thy father gods be worshipped." The Oho Omi, in obedience to the emperor commands, worshipped the stone image and prayed that his life might be prolonged. At this time, there was a pestilence rife in the land, and many of the people died. 3rd month, 1st day. Mononobe no Ujehi, no Moria, no Ohimureji and Nakatomi, no Katsumi, no Debu addressed the emperor, saying, "Why hast thou not consented to follow thy servant's counsel? Is not the prevalence of pestilence from the reign of the late emperor thy father down to thine, so that the nation is in danger of extinction, owing absolutely to the establishment of the exercise of the Buddhist religion by Soga no Omi?" The emperor gave command, saying, "Manifestly so. Let Buddhism be discontinued." 30th day. Mononobe no Ujehi, no Moria, no Ohimureji went himself to the temple, and sitting on a chair, cut down the pagoda, which he then set fire to Agura, and burnt. He likewise burnt the image of Buddha and the temple of Buddha. Having done so, he took the remains of the image of Buddha which were left from the burning, and had them flung into the Naniha Canal. On this day there was wind and rain without any clouds, and the Ohimureji had on his rain coat. He upbraided Mumako, no Sukyun, and those who followed him in the exercise of religion, and made them feel shame and contrition of heart. Moreover, he sent Momoro, Saheki no Miyako, to summon Zen, Shin, and the other nuns provided for by Mumako no Sukyun. So Mumako no Sukyun did not dare to disobey this command, but with grief and lamentation called forth the nuns and delivered them to Momoro. The officials accordingly took away from the nuns their 3 garments, imprisoned them, and flogged them at the road station of Tsubaki no Ikai. The emperor, with the view of establishing Imna, appointed as his envoy Prince Mimiko of Sakata. Just at this time, the emperor and the Ohimureji were suddenly afflicted with sores, and he was therefore, after all, not sent. The emperor gave command to the imperial prince Takebana no Tyohi, saying, "The injunctions of the late emperor, my father, must not be disregarded. The government of Imna must be diligently put in order." Again, the land was filled with those who were attacked with sores and died thereof. The persons thus afflicted with sores said, "Our bodies are as if they were burnt, as if they were beaten, as if they were broken," and so lamenting, they died. Old and young said privately to one another, "Is this a punishment for the burning of the image of Buddha?" Summer, 6th month. So the 3 nuns were given back to Mumako no Sukyun, who received them with rejoicing, lamenting their unexampled misfortunes and bowing down his head in their honor. He built them a temple anew, into which he welcomed them and provided them with sustenance. One book says, "Mononobe no Ujehi no Moria no Ohimureji, Oho, Miwa no Sakai no Kimmei and Nakatomi no Iher no Mureji conspired together to destroy the Buddhist religion." They wanted to burn the temple and pagoda, and also to throw away the Buddhist images. Mumako no Sukyun opposed this project and would not agree to it. Autumn, 8th month, 15th day. The emperor disease having become more and more inveterate, he died in the great hall. At this time, a palace of temporary interment was erected at Heroes. Mumako no Sukyun delivered a funeral oration with his sword girded on. Mononobe no Ujehi no Moria no Ohimureji burst out laughing and said, "He is like a sparrow pierced by a hunting shaft." Next Ujehi no Moria no Ohimureji, with trembling hands and legs, delivered his funeral oration. The Oho Omi, Mumako no Sukyun, laughed and said, "He ought to have bells hung upon him." From this small beginning, the 2 ministers conceived a hatred of each other. Saka, Miwa no Kimmei, sent Hayato for the protection of the courtyard of the temporary tomb. The imperial prince Anahobe, who wished to possess himself of the empire, flew into a rage and declared, saying, "Why do ye serve the court of a dead king, and do no service where the living king is?" B.